Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
It's here. It's time. There's always a buzz in the air when you hit this moment.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
I think of him as this hawk. Before long, he's going to be swooping in on those quarterbacks.
And they embody what the school is about. It's about getting into hard situations and getting ourselves out. It's about working hard. It's about doing amazing things.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Welcome into day 2 of SEC Media Days 2026 from Tampa, Florida. And this SEC Media Days coverage is brought to you by Paragon Financial Advisors, helping clients nationwide focus on long game through independent fiduciary financial advice. Visit paragon-adv.com. He's Olin Buchanan.
He's David Nuno.
Thank you very much. The show, this is the NASCAR part, is called TexAgs Live. We won't do the whole NASCAR part. We'll break it up.
Okay.
We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the mobile Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. Olin, today on the podium, we've got Auburn, we've got Georgia, we've got South Carolina, and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, only one team that A&M is going to play, but all 4 teams are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know, Georgia for obvious reasons. They're Georgia champions and expect to be maybe the best team again.
Yep.
Vanderbilt has thrived under Clark Lee, but now they got to move forward without Diego Pavia. How are they going to do that? South Carolina, they're trying to bounce back from I think they were 4-8 last year.
Yeah, they were.
And their coach is on the record saying, hey, we're going to be in the playoff, or at least contending. So, that's something to talk about. And then, of course, the new coach, Golish at Auburn. Anytime there's a new coach, especially at a high-profile place like Auburn, it's really interesting. So, pretty interesting day.
So I have not read the column, and I should not do it based on what was written. But I'm going to read you a little blurb from Pat 40.
Okay.
I used to work with Pat. You did too. At Yahoo, Pat and I did a show together. Column: when you're no longer winning titles, shift the subject to attendance. The SEC is coping with a recent downturn rooted in unsuccessful and expensive coaching hires and so-so quarterbacking. Will this season reverse the trend? Was attendance a topic yesterday?
I don't remember that being.
Is attendance a problem in the SEC? Maybe I'm not understanding what he means by that.
Maybe he's saying because the SEC isn't winning the national championship, they're trumpeting, hey, look, this is the place where there's the most interest, and we have these big stadiums and the being sold out.
Yeah. I see what you. Yeah.
So they're just saying, hey, if you can't win the championship, tell everybody how great other things are about your conference.
Well, I think we all cope in our own way. We try to find reasons. The bottom line, and I'm not going to make this a debate, Big Ten versus SEC. Bottom line, the Big Ten's won the last 3 championships. SEC hasn't. That's where we are.
That's where we are. They get to, the Big Ten gets to pound its chest and
as they should,
and say they're the greatest or the best, because the SEC certainly did when they won 7 in a row or 8 in a row, however many it was. I think they've won something like 13 out of 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
So and they let everybody know about it.
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, you go, which obviously the SEC doesn't. Somebody has to go out and win the national championship, as long as it's not Texas.
OB, am I crazy for thinking, I don't know if this is the SEC's year? And look, we'll see how the season plays out. That'll give us the actual data points other than all these rosters that are different. But I don't feel like there's a dominant force being spoken about in the SEC. I know that they have 2 teams that most people look at the top 2.
Yeah, Georgia and Texas.
But I don't know if any. Texas has got some question marks. All teams have question marks, but Texas has got some real question marks that I think could affect them. I talked to Anwar Richardson yesterday. We're going to run that interview at some point. He said their big question mark is the offensive line, right? And if you have a poor offensive line, if your quarterback is not going to do as well.
That's the LSU Tigers.
Right. So, but Georgia, they could be. I mean, they always have a good defense. Gunnar Stockton is a guy that I think people don't talk about enough. He had a really good year last year. At the end of the day, I don't know but who from the Big Ten would scare you today? Ohio State?
I think Ohio State's always going to be good.
But they have a ridiculous schedule for Ohio State, for Big Ten standards.
Yeah, but it's kind of like when someone said, well, all these A&M has to play all these teams. I said, yeah, they have to play A&M too.
Yeah.
Ohio State's not going to be intimidated by anybody, but yeah, they're going to have to show up and play. If I was going to guess today, I would say Ohio State will be the Big Ten champion.
Yeah.
Thought they would last year too, and Indiana won it all. So what do I know?
So I just found out programming update at 8:12. I have to do the math because my computer is for some reason set on Eastern, but my phone is set to Central. Okay. It's crazy. I got a system, right?
It's at an hour.
But Brooks Austin here in about 7 minutes or so. He's going to join you and me right here on this
great.
show.
I like to watch
the film guy.
Yeah, very knowledgeable.
Yeah, he is very knowledgeable. So we'll be chit-chatting with him. So we'll hit an early break, but we're not going to hit it just yet. I want to read you something from Coach Elko last night at the Houston A&M Club dinner. He says on no leadership in college football or just in the NCAA. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry with no centralized leadership. There's no other company in the history of the world with those types of revenue streams with no leadership. We need that now more than ever.
Yeah, he said that in Destin too, and it's true. And that's what everybody who follows college football has been frustrated by that. And it is $1 billion industry, and who's running it? Not I can't even think of the guy's name, Baker?
Yeah, Charlie Baker.
The NCAA president? I don't feel like he's running the show.
He's running a building, like his group, but they don't, again, no real power, and that's their own fault. And also, state laws have kind of stripped down their power.
Again, that goes back to the NCAA of saying, hey, let it
play itself out.
Well, let's look for guidance from government and all this. But Mike Elko is absolutely right. The question then is, how are they going to change it? Or do they even really want to change it?
Do they want to change it, right?
And I understand when you're the SEC and the College Sports Protection Act comes out and you're reading it and says, wait a minute, they're essentially want to take some of our money and give it to lesser conferences to make the even playing field. No, we don't want to give up our revenue and subsidize someone else. I mean, I get that. So how do you fix all that?
Hey, this is TexAgs Live. I already told you that part, but I didn't tell you how you can be a part of the conversation.
Yeah. You can call us on the Buppy's Catering and Bartending Hotline. Do you know that number?
I do. I've memorized it. It's been the same number since I was in college. 979-693-1150. You can text that number. We clap our hands, and it changes.
Yeah, it changes to the Catalyst Pure Performance Energy, PPE text line.
Text line. We're not going to go around the entire room. We're just going to go right to my right. Nick Savage, Director of the Year. Having a good performance so far here at SEC Media Days. We grade him on this.
Yeah.
He and the teamwork of Callie and then the rest of the crew. If we don't get guests, it's on them. It's not on me at all, except when Billy finds out. Anyway, Nick, what's up?
Is it true that it's been the same number since you were in college, or do you just make that up?
Same number. The only difference that I remember that number. Yeah. Louis may text me in a little bit, tell me I'm wrong, but I remember 693-1150 when I was in college. Before we did, believe it or not, before your lifetime, do you remember this? We didn't do the 979. We just did 693-1150.
Yeah.
You knew that?
I knew that.
How did you know? It wasn't in your life.
Well, I know, but I just know of things. I know things that weren't in my life before.
Yeah.
What is it? BN before Nick?
Before Nick.
Yeah.
What was your big takeaway from yesterday? It could be about the show. It could be about It could be about the people at the podium. We did. Our job is a little hard. We have to go back and watch. I was listening last night and this morning.
My big takeaway, and this might be a cop out, but it really kind of seemed uneventful, right? Like for Sankey. Nothing really came of his. A lot of politicking. Richards described him as very matter of fact to me. We were talking about it after work. But yeah, hopefully maybe some interesting storylines today. Going to be tougher with only one team that we're facing, but looking forward to tomorrow for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. The thing about today, what is the big storyline today? I know when LSU goes, what the big storyline is. When Ole Miss goes, we obviously know what A&M means to us. What is the big storyline today, OB?
Well, again, I think that depends on
your perspective.
Yeah. I mean,
nationally, like, what do you think people are clicking? It's about Georgia, right?
Yeah, nationally probably. Yeah. Just they haven't. Oh my gosh, they haven't won the national championship. 3 years. And when you talk about the Big Ten being, braggadocious about it. Is that the right way to say that?
Yeah, braggadocious. Or braggadocious.
Whichever.
Supercalifragilistic.
If anybody's gonna end that streak, it's a good chance that it's going to be Georgia. So I'm sure he'll be asked about that, and he's proud. SEC coach, player. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts about that whole issue.
From the perceived upper half of the SEC, okay? Mm-hmm. Who would you put your money on to make the college football playoffs?
I think Georgia. I think I'd have to Texas. Beyond those two,
that's it, right?
Again, I've said about A&M. I've said it before. I got to see the offensive line play. You look at Oklahoma, and you're hearing a lot about them. But
wouldn't you say that about Texas's offensive line too, though?
Yeah, but I think Texas appears to have. Yeah, there's questions about the offensive line there, but I'm looking at Texas and defensively, I think they have more, especially up front. They have more experience. I don't know that they're trying to replace the same caliber of offensive linemen that A&M's trying to replace. Again, all four of them were drafted.
Yeah.
A couple of them were drafted really high. I don't know that was necessarily the case at Texas, right? So, Oklahoma has that schedule that scares me off a little bit. Everybody's talking about how good Oklahoma's going to be, and their defense is great.
Their first month is ridiculous too, right?
Yeah, it's just.
I think it's their first month.
It's all through. I mean, I don't know when you get even something that looks like a break for Oklahoma. So, who else? I mean, we keep hearing about LSU, but that's really because of Lane Kiffin.
I'll ask Brooks this on the other side. If I had to put my money down, it was my money, not yours. If it's yours, I'm putting it on A&M and a couple others.
Okay.
But if it's my money, I don't know. Let's do this. Let's hit a break.
Georgia. If it's money, my money.
Brooks is almost ready to go, so let's hit a break here. We'll come back. But, OB, would you like a film breakdown at 1775 where Brooks is up there? He's eating, the queso mac and cheese, the succulent brisket, right? He's eating all the foods, okay? As he's doing the film breakdown and breaking down A&M's offensive line and breaking down Marcel's play, would you sign up for something like that?
Oh, absolutely. But you know what I could also sign up on? Brooks Austin breaking down the procedure of preparing that succulent brisket.
Oh, yeah.
Say, okay, here comes Brad, and he's going over to the pit, and here comes Brandon, he's coming over with the seasoning and all this.
Yeah.
All that. Blenda's going to come in with the sides. And then showing how it's done, and then here's how it comes out. I could see that, and then I'm sure he would be, checking it off as a big win and so on and so forth. Because you can't beat 1775 barbecue. You just can't beat them.
You can't, and you shouldn't. It is 1775. The website, 1775txbbq.com, and you can call them up 979-492-6241. It is 1775.
It's really good.
Hey everyone, David Nuno here of TexAgs Live. I want to introduce you to the team at Holistic Planning. Got Jason Barber here, Taylor Pankratz, and also Paul Meredith. Jason, I want to start off with you. What really sets Holistic Planning apart from the others?
Yeah, so what makes us different is most financial advisors stop at investment management. On the other hand, Holistic Planning, we manage investments, taxes, and estate planning all on one team, all underneath one roof.
Now, Taylor, when everything is coordinated like that, it really helps the bottom line, doesn't it?
It really does. When your investments and taxes are working together, you stop leaving money on the table and keep more of what's yours.
Paul, Holistic Planning is trying to expand as well.
That's true. We just opened our Houston office, and we're looking for people who feel like their advisor isn't seeing the full picture, because that's exactly what we fix.
And Jason, there's other opportunities beyond that.
Definitely. If you're a financial advisor and you want to join the Holistic Planning team, we're looking to add 50 teams in the next 5 to 10 years. So check out holisticplanning.com/advisors.
All right, so if you want a team that actually coordinates everything, go to holisticplanning.com. Aggies, this one is worth it. Hey guys, David Nuno here to talk about our new partners with EventPipe. They are a leader in hotel booking technology, and now they're giving you a chance to support Aggie student athletes every time that you travel. Thanks to their partnership with United and EventPipe, whether you're heading into a game, a business trip, or family vacation, every room that you book comes with cash back in the pockets of Aggie athletes. That's a wonderful deal. And with EventPipe, you'll get discounted hotel rates up to 20% lower than the major travel sites, while enjoying a fast, easy booking process. They've even created Presto, EventPipe's quick launch booking solution. It lets organizations build branded hotel sites powered by live hotel inventory, making it simple to book the perfect stay. So next time you want to book a trip, do it the smart way with EventPipe and support Texas Aggies NIL through United. Visit their website, tau.eventpipe.com.
Welcome back in. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner Schuler's Rollo Insurance Studio. This SEC Media Days coverage is brought to you by Paragon Financial Advisors, David Nuno, Olin Buchanan, and the film guy, Brooks Austin, in the house.
What's up, boys?
What's up, son?
I'm doing all right. How are y'all?
We're great. We're great.
Excellent.
I don't know about y'all, but I come here and I'm never prepared to talk as much as I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a good problem to have. But I'm feeling a little tired this morning, not going to lie to you.
Yeah.
But hey, we're going to suck it up.
Yeah, Clark Lee just walked by. He looks like he could still play.
Yeah,
He's kind of jacked.
He's also doing a very veteran move. You notice he's not in his suit yet.
Yeah.
He's walking around in normal coaching gear.
Saying hi to the people.
Saying hi to the people, doing the smoozing, probably going to do a couple radio hits in the quarter zip, and then he's going to go throw the suit on. That's wise.
Brooks, I'm going to ask you a question I asked OB at the end of the last segment. If you had to put your money, right, not Billy's money, your money, on teams that you know will make the playoffs in the SEC, who would you put your money that you feel pretty darn good about making the playoffs in the SEC?
Honestly, I think there's 7 contenders, but I think there's 2 that I would put money on.
Yeah.
Georgia because of the schedule. It's about as manageable of a schedule as they can. And Texas because I'm putting all weight and expectation of the world on Steve Sarkisian's shoulders. So I've been that all offseason. Basically since the portal closed, I was like, good Lord, what doesn't he have? Now, I know they got a tough schedule, but, like, Texas should win 10 games. If they don't, everybody was hurt or we got serious questions about coaching.
What do you think about Oklahoma? Because I know they're a team that seems like everybody is hyping up. It's not just a playoff team, but a real national championship contender. And maybe that is the case. But you talk about tough schedule. They're as challenging as anybody.
Yeah, for like 3 years in a row, it's felt like out there for those guys. They've gotten a tough shake at it. I think that's a little confirmation bias, maybe. I think yesterday Venables was like adamant about getting better around Mateer. And the whole media body's like, yeah, that's what I've been saying too. So maybe he knows what we know. Maybe they are going to get better. And if they are, like the amount of tweets I've seen this morning where it's like, if Oklahoma can run the ball, they might win a national title. And I'm like, well, they still got to be able to like not turn it over. Quarterback's got to be accurate. Are the wide receivers good enough? You lost 4 NFL football players on the defensive line. Like, there's a lot there other than just they got to be better at running the ball. Now, I do expect them to take leaps that they're expecting, right? Like, they had a freshman left tackle, a redshirt freshman sophomore, or a redshirt freshman guard, a true freshman right guard. Like, those players should take leaps. You know what I mean? Like, I adamantly believe that young players get better. I'm not here for, like, the fifth-year senior who's been starting 3 years is suddenly going to take some massive leap. That's not how it works. But these young guys normally do take somewhat of a leap.
Brooks, when you see quarterbacks and their completions and their accuracy over time, how often do you see these almost upper-tier quarterbacks take that step where accuracy with Mateer, maybe with Marcel, actually do go in that right direction, like from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a different conversation for all of them, right? Like Marcel, I think, is just comfort within the pocket, getting more and more reps at it. And maybe, like if I were his offensive coordinator, we would veer away from that. We would RPO everybody to death. That's what we would do. I wouldn't even ask him to be a pure progression reader. I don't think that's his skill set. I don't think that's what he is best at. He can do it. Does he do it at an elite A-plus level? No, but I think he could be the best RPO quarterback maybe in college football with how elusive he is, how electric he is, how quick the mechanics are, how quick he gets the ball in and out. Whereas like with Mateer, there's like so many mechanical issues that show up on tape with the lower half and the upper body. We're so disconnected, looks frantic often at times. Now, how much of that was scar tissue from the problems around him, right? Couldn't protect him, had no run game, and nobody else was making plays. That's a bad spot to be in as a quarterback. I can't protect you. I have no complimentary run game, and you're the only one that's going to make an explosive if we have it. Like that creates a lot of pressing at the position, and pressing's not a good spot to be in. So there's a wide range of things that we can do to increase this raw statistics of accuracy. But it all, of course, starts with mechanical buildup. Like we have to make sure our mechanics are really clean and consistent. However we actually throw the football, that's one thing, but making sure we're doing that over and over and over again and not veering off course. It's no different than a golf swing. Right? We cannot have a different cut every time we get up there and approach the golf ball. Same thing with throwing the football. It's all ground force, right? Like the only two things tied to what's creating the force is the feet in the ground. And if our feet in the ground aren't consistent and stable, we're going to have bad habits.
You touched on your thoughts about Marcel, but I'd like to go a little bit further. Look, the opinions of Marcel are all over the place. Some guys say he can be a Heisman contender. Others say he's way overrated. He says he can do this, he can't do that. In all of your film work, what are the opinions you've come to about Marcel?
Yeah, I think he had a tough job last year because, now look, Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion are great. The tight end that went way too high, really, really good, right? Like, but all of his weaponry and all of the threats that defenses were posed with were right in between the numbers. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing outside to help him last year, I felt like. Bethel Roman, really young football player last year. And now what do? We bring in Isaiah Horton, okay? And having an X wide receiver, a true X that can tilt field or dictate coverage, that makes the job of a quarterback so much easier. Whereas, like, all of my threats are, like, almost in the box. it can get real convoluted in there. Spaces get really tight. Windows get really small. You'll have to, be really, really quick with decisions, and it could lead to bad mistakes really, really quickly. Maybe I didn't see a guy. Maybe he's following my eyes. He leaks over. He doesn't have a lot of space to cover as a defender, right? Whereas if I have an X receiver that's outside the numbers, and we dominate so much on a one-on-one skill or facet that now all of a sudden a safety has to pull over, that opens up so much more, and it's almost like doing math. Whereas I walk to the line of scrimmage and I look over there. Okay, I got one-on-one. Done. The play is done. I'm going here. You know what I mean? So that alleviates a lot of pressure. I remember listening to Todd Monken talk about that when he first got to Georgia. He was like, nothing will make offense easier than having an X. Nothing makes it easier for the quarterback than having a true outside the numbers number one wide receiver that dictates coverage.
Do you think Isaiah Horton's going to make a big difference?
I think Isaiah Horton. I don't think people realize how good he is, because last year he got used more as a Z-body type, because Jeremy Bernard was their X, because he's coming over from Washington. He knew the offense. He's a great football player too. You guys saw how he was going to be used in the spring game, because shout out to Mike Elko. Mike Elko and Kirby Smart are the only ones in the conference that apparently A, want to play a spring game and actually make people tackle, and B, have the you-know-whats to put it on television. So we actually got to see that, right? And Isaiah's doing it in a spring game against elite corner play at A&M, which I think you guys have the deepest and best cornerback room in maybe college football.
Really?
Like Notre Dame's good, but you guys have, I think, 4 dudes that can flat out roll.
Coach Elko actually said that yesterday at the Houston A&M club dinner.
Like I know ball or something.
Yeah, he says that. Well, he didn't say in the country. He says the best he's had at A&M.
Yeah.
And I assume that includes when he was the defensive coordinator.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's deep. I mean, even Julian Humphrey's gotten. I know he goes by Julio now, but even Julian Humphrey, like I saw him in the spring game. His damn quads are huge now. And that's a former track guy from Houston that was like just really, really speedy, and now all of a sudden we're thick. I'm like, Des Ricks comes back, and Arrington, and I'm missing another name too. I love the Colorado safety that they brought over.
Byard.
The first play of the spring game, he runs down like he's playing in a goddamn Super Bowl. Comes down and sticks that running back. I'm like, So, yeah, I love the way Elko, the way y'all practice is obvious. It's apparent.
Yeah.
The way that physicality is paramount, that's my kind of spot. That's my kind of coach. It's my kind of place. I'm just a football meathead, man. Like, I love physicality. I love line of scrimmage football players. I love line of scrimmage football coaches, and he reeks of it, man.
Brooks, what is something about Coach Elko you've learned that you didn't maybe know, and not the defensive mind, but just the way he goes about his business over the last couple of years? Something about him that you just like, okay.
Recruiting. That dude's recruiting his butt off right now. Yeah. And it's not to say that I didn't, assume that he was going to be able to. And I know the era of college football that we live in, it's a product of resources too. And A&M's got a lot of resources. Fans like the TexAgs folks watching right now are very, very passionate about the Aggies. So that type of stuff leads to good football players coming in. But you still got to sell the mission. You still got to sell the culture. You still got to sell the place. And he's obviously doing a great job of that. So I think that's the thing that sticks out to me most. And by the way, he's recruiting nationally too.
Yeah.
I don't think he's just like, we could try to border up the state, and because Texas got great high school football, but dude, he comes into my backyard and steals football players all the time. Like the Kamari Dorsey kid, y'all finna find out. Now I know y'all know, but that kid, oh my God, he's like 6'3", 210 already, and moves like a deer. And I mean, if he needed to, he could play corner at that size in the right scheme. Like that kid is so good. And Aaron Gregory from last year, like y'all are doing things that are not necessarily par for the course for people to come into the state of Georgia and take players that Kirby Smart wants.
Do you think
that's not normal?
Sorry, do you think Aaron Gregory is going to be a name with that loaded wide receiver room that we hear a little bit about this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's going to be. I don't want Isaiah Horton coming off the field.
Yeah.
And Aaron's going to play that body type, that role. He's going to be outside the numbers. He's going to be an X for all the good reasons, right? It's not a negative when you hear that. So, yeah, it's just getting – hopefully Isaiah stays healthy the whole year and you don't have to play him.
Yep.
And then the next 2 years are the Aaron Gregory show. I think that would be the most ideal set for you guys. But, maybe get him – I mean, he can run routes too. So, like, you can play him as Z. It's not like he's just a high point kid. So, that's the thing I noticed about Aaron coming out of high school. I was like, I got kind of slapped down by SEC coaches because I'd be like, it's going to sound crazy, but I think this kid might be A.J. Green because, like, you watch him and the way he runs routes and the way he can bend and the way he can stop, and he's 6'3", he's probably going to get to 6'4", he's 200-plus pounds, and every coach I talk to is like, you don't run fast enough. I'm like, okay. Because every 4.38 guy that's ever ran at the combine is just an elite all-pro, right? That's how this world works. It's like, no, this is a position about refinement. Like, it's a skill set. Like, you have to have raw traits, don't get me wrong, but getting open is far more about selling what you think I'm about to run to the DB.
Right.
And what I'm actually running being two totally different things. Like, I don't know if he will be that. Let's call it 85 to 90% of A.J. Green. That's what I look at and see.
Brooks, let me close out with this. Obi, you have something you want to ask?
Well,
go ahead.
In all your film work when you watch A&M, defensively, A&M had a good defense, but they had that tendency to give up the big, long run.
Yeah.
And we saw it really, like in the Miami game, that came back to haunt them. Is there anything that you saw that you can say, this is why this keeps happening?
Normally when we give up big explosive runs, we're stacking gaps, okay? It's never good to put two guys in one hole on defense. When we talk about stopping the run, depending on how many guys are in the formation, there's a certain amount of gaps that we have to plug, right? A gap, B gap, C gap, D gap on both sides. So that's 8 gaps, right? And we got to fit those properly. And if we put two guys in one gap,
opens up a gap.
Yeah, well, we have not just a gap, we have a massive hole.
Yeah.
All right, because offensive linemen will start to seal and crease things off, and now all of a sudden we have a massive void in the defense. And we have great backs in the sport nowadays, man. Like, everybody's got somebody with a little bit of go-go juice. And when you allow that to happen, you're going to get smacked in the face with an explosive. And the best way to alleviate that is to be a magician like Bryant Haynes at Indiana. I don't know what the hell that guy's doing. I study him all the time, and I'm like, they're rapping, they're twisting, they're stunting, they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and they never give up explosive runs. So it's just coaching it up, getting everybody on the same page, making sure, like, hey, this is the call, this is your job, and you have to do your job. I know it sounds so cliche, but defensive play is that. Like, we have to stack gaps properly.
Brooks, last thing for you. If A&M makes the playoff or doesn't, what's the area that you say this is the why? If you could look into the future, this is why they made it, this is why they didn't make it.
That's tough because I think you guys, like some schools like LSU, I know they're going to be great on offense. Are they going to be good enough on defense? Georgia, I know they're going to be really good at the line of scrimmage, but are they going to be explosive enough on offense? Like, when I look at A&M, I just think you guys are an A- across the board at everything.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there's one hole that I look at or one area that I look at and like, you're not good enough. Like, I think you're really good at back. I think the 4 new offensive linemen might be something.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah, my bad. No, 4 brand new offensive linemen, that'd be it.
They either gel or they don't.
I know you guys love me at TexAgs, and I appreciate the support. I'm not the biggest Formsby guy.
Okay.
You know, I didn't love the tape at Alabama.
A lot of folks at Alabama tell us the same thing.
I didn't love the spring game tape, but Anto Saka was beating his butt, and Anto Saka's going to get a lot of people this year. So maybe it was just a product of the competition in front of him. But, hey, newsflash, there's some good edge rushers in this league.
Well, Brooks, I'll just close it with this. I believe in Coach Elko's ability to buy the right groceries. He's done that so far when it comes to transfer portal guys. He's hit more often than not.
Yeah.
So if he thinks he's going to be good, for right now, I'm going to go along with it.
I'm with you, too. And it ain't like they've ever been bad at the line of scrimmage with him. So he got something figured out. And I think it's the practice habits, honestly.
Brooks, thank you, brother.
No doubt, boys.
Looking forward to talking to you during the fall.
Absolutely.
Brooks Austin, the film guy. Check out his YouTube channel. Did you get to 100 yet? You're about to be there? Almost. Everybody subscribe. Go join and watch his stuff on YouTube. All right, let's talk Rollo Insurance. They take an educational approach. They build lasting relationships through that education. They want to help you understand what you're buying and the why behind it with expertise in everything from home to auto to business, specialty coverage. Their independent agents provide you tailored options specific to your needs. They take time to explain it to you so you understand exactly what you're paying for doing the shopping for you. And many clients discover much better protective and competitive rates simply because they finally understand their options. Experience the difference at one of their 60-plus offices, but the headquarters right there in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO. That's 888-44-ROLLO. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs, rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. And we're back. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. This SEC Media Days coverage brought to you by Paragon Financial Advisors. Shout out to our QB1, Stephen McGee and the team there. OB, you and I had a similar kind of response to that Brooks Austin. I felt not that his opinion means anything. Oh, I mean, it means something, but it doesn't mean it's going to play out on the field. But he said, I think they're pretty much an A- everywhere. Then he stopped and said, if I had a question, it'd be the O-line, which we've been talking about. Hey, Nick, his mic's not on or something. Check. Try again.
Check.
Oh, you're back.
All right, first of all, I mean, that was just good football talk.
Yeah, that was good.
And that was great. But, yeah, he says, look, A&M is an A- across the board, but except the offensive line where you get a big incomplete.
Yep.
If you turn in the work and it's a passable grade, then A&M can be a playoff team.
So you think a C offensive line is a playoff team?
Could be, if everything else is an A-, because
well, I mean, the secondary that he talked about, maybe the best in the country.
Yeah, and he's talking about the how he's obviously impressed and thinks good things are going to come from Anto Saka.
Yeah.
So good pass, good secondary, good pass rush. Maybe you'll get more than 3 interceptions. Maybe you get 3 interceptions in a game.
Oh, wow.
How crazy would that be? So, yeah, there's reasons to feel optimistic about A&M this year.
Yeah.
But you have to hedge your bets with that offensive line until what? Till we see it with our own eyes.
Yeah, with our own eyes. I'm very excited about the secondary. I'm very excited about DJ Hicks. I'm going to read you a little quote from Mike Elko from just yesterday. Did you see this quote?
No, I didn't, but I love DJ.
All right. DJ, this is what he says on DJ Hicks. It's DJ Hicks' time. He's a kid who's been working extremely hard over the last few years. He will be a fundamental master on the defensive line. He will for sure lead that line.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I've often
a fundamental master.
I've often thought that this guy could be the next Justin Madubuike.
Yeah.
It just hasn't happened yet. And this could be that breakout year where he's a dominant interior line. He gets a pretty good pass rush from gives you a pretty good pass rush from the interior.
Yeah.
And you don't get that a lot. And he can get home, but he's played well. It's time for him to play great.
Another thing he says on the defensive line, because there are questions. Hey, man, it's a brand new defensive line, bro. Like, how are we going to do it? And he says, on the defensive line, we have replaced NFL defensive linemen pretty much every year since I've been a part of Texas A&M since 2018. We've had more linemen drafted since 2018 than any program in the country.
Yeah, he brought in a couple of guys from the transfer portal for that interior line. We already got Marco Jones and Anto Saka and TJ Searcy, and they got a lot of. Did you see Mbemba? I mean, it's right.
Yes, Sam Mbemba, yeah.
With I don't know how much weight that was, but it looked like it was almost 300 pounds, and he was power cleaning. He power cleaned it, but I really like the young guys, Landon Rink and DJ Sanders. Love those guys. So, and then they brought CJ Mims in and the kid from with 3-named kid from Colorado to bolster that interior line. So, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the defensive front. I've always have been.
So, do you believe? Here's the question. And by the way, we can't answer it today for real. Like, we'll know at the end of the season. But I'll ask it for today. Did A&M arrive in 2025, or does arrival mean doing it again?
Yeah, I think it means doing it again. Or 3 times over 4 years, that kind of thing.
Right.
We've talked about that. Because, look, a lot of teams can have a good year. And Mike, as we've talked about before, has been open about it. Hey, A&M, having a good year is not new to A&M. It's just sustaining it. And that's what Mike has always said his task is. His goal is not to just be good one year every now and then. It's be good all the time. And then you have when you do have the quote bad year, it's the 8-4 year. That's the bad year.
Right. Yeah. To me, if they're in the conversation again in November on the last game of the season, go to the SEC championship game, and that makes it 3 years in a row. And I know it hasn't gone to plan yet in that respect. Then, if they have – the only way it doesn't feel like they've arrived would be a massive step back. I wouldn't even say 8-4. 8-4, I still think you're in the conversation, depending on what next year's roster looks like, right? But But making a playoff this year would nationally say, absolutely, they've arrived as a program.
Yeah, I think you can go from very, very respected to feared if you can start being in the playoffs consistently.
Yeah.
You're already very respected. You'll hear people talk about another team. They'll say, yeah, they got that tough schedule, and they got this guy, and they got A&M, and you hear that. So, there's respect there. But you start doing what you did last year and even better on a consistent basis, then you become feared.
Yeah. You got to win in November. To do that, you got to win in November, and you got to win in December too. Now,
yeah, hey, just win and just keep winning. And the thing is, I feel more confident. I'm typically confident in A&M. Why shouldn't you be? For all the reasons we've said before, but it just seems like it's different with Elko.
It does, and I wanted to say that because in years past, and maybe it's Elko / this transfer portal era. In years past, when it would be a quote-unquote reload, rebuild year, right, I would be like, I don't know, man. Like, 10 guys went to the NFL. I don't know how we're going to redo that. That being said, because of the man in charge, I have faith it's more possible than I would have maybe in prior years.
Absolutely agree. And a big part of that is his track record of finding guys in the transfer portal who may not be the highly acclaimed transfer portal guys, but the guys he identifies and brings in, and they play well.
And they're well. Which is why when Brooks said, hey, I don't love the film on Will Conformby, okay, I understand that. I've heard that from a lot of Alabama people. But they believe in him, right? The players seem to. So let's see if maybe it was a development, if it's coaching, if it's the right environment. Because sometimes getting that dude, we've had guys leave A&M, go elsewhere and have success, because it was just the right environment for that particular player. Will Conformby has all the tools in the world, the personality to match. He might just need this environment.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to, because his Alabama tape didn't look great, I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, he's not going to be able to handle this job here. Because he talked about the situation facing Marcel and how there's all kinds of different issues that he's not necessarily responsible for that affects the way he plays. And maybe that's the same kind of situation there. We'll see.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with the final segment here on the Go Hour on Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. When it comes to your financial advice, independence matters. Paragon Financial Advisors is an Aggie-owned and operated company, fee-only fiduciary firm that means that their recommendations aren't influenced by commissions, products, or sales quotas. Whether you're managing family wealth or growing a successful business, their team helps clients make informed financial decisions and comprehensive planning and disciplined investment management. Now, for many business owners, that means developing strategies not only to grow business, but also preparing for one of the biggest financial events of their lives, their eventual sale or transition of the business. Visit Paragon-ADV.com to learn, and more advice can help you prepare for what's next. It's Paragon Financial Advisors, Aggie-owned independents serving clients nationwide.
I wish I had Olin here for it because he loves energy drinks. Catalyst Citrus Spark. This is one of the new flavors out there. Whether you're grinding through workouts, cramming for a test, or closing in on a deal, or getting ready for TexAgs Live, you never know, right? Fast becoming the go-to fuel for Aggies everywhere. Zero sugar. I'm all in for that. Or synthetic sweeteners, no artificial colors or flavors. Catalyst delivers clean, high-performance energy with smooth, crisp taste that is never syrupy, designed for both health and hustle. You want to get going? You use this Catalyst right here. It's about pure energy and pure results. And what sets them apart? Packed with premium nootropics blended to boost focus, clarity, and mental stamina. I need this. I'm in, guys. I'm in. Plus, with plant-based caffeine, vitamin B12, B6, Catalyst supports metabolism and energy production, making it more than a drink. It's your lifestyle training partner. Built for competitors on the field, Catalyst fuels strength, focus, and pure results. Buy now at drinkcatalyst.com. That is drinkcatalyst.com. Train harder, think sharper, pure results. It's Catalyst.
We tried to get to it earlier, but we had a great guest on the program. We had Brooks Austin. Right now it's time for the Knockout Performer of the Week, brought to you by TKO Equipment. Rent, sell, lease, or rent to buy TKO Equipment, which is your trusted source for used heavy equipment. Look, I'm going to just do some quick ones here because I don't know, because I'm stuck in the SEC bubble as you are too, OB. I guess Knockout Performer of the Week, first to Spain for winning the World Cup.
See,
it was a great game, so shout out to Spain for doing that. Let's see what else. I'm going to give Will Stein a Performer of the Week grade.
Okay, I
thought he held court yesterday. He did a really good job.
I like when somebody's going to say he's arrogant or whatever. I like when you're saying, hey, he's asked, do you think that you're going to have more, why Kentucky be more successful?
Yes.
He said, well, because of me.
Yeah.
And then he said, if I don't believe in myself and believe I could do the job, I wouldn't be here.
Well, and how about this? When you have a job interview, wouldn't that be what the employer wants to hear? Like what? Yeah, I'll be the difference, right? Like if you're like, and here's my strategy, here's my vision. If you just say I'm the difference, but he laid out his vision for Kentucky, and this is basically a job interview for the SEC media. That's what he's doing right there. He's selling the program what they can be.
Well, Kentucky has won 7 games or less. I think it's 35 of the last 40 seasons. So he does have a big job. And I think if I was a Kentucky fan, that's going to be easy to make fun of him, like they did Charlie Weiss when he was at Notre Dame. And he did a introductory press conference. And they said, why is it going to be better? We're going to have a decided schematic advantage. Yeah. And they didn't. So it can come back to haunt you.
It can.
But if I'm a Kentucky fan, I
want to hear it.
I want my coach. I'm the guy that's going to turn things around.
I'm going to give you another one. Okay. Ahmad Hardy. And my reason for it, he didn't speak or anything, but according to Eli Drinkowitz, he's about 8 weeks away from being able to start training with the team. Okay, so that would be, a few weeks into fall camp. And if you remember the way the story went, the bullet went through the bone.
Yeah.
Okay? That means the bone's got to grow back. Can it grow back stronger? Does it, those are all question marks. But the fact that he's having that conversation in August as opposed to missing the entire year, shout out to Ahmad Hardy and, of course, to all his doctors.
Yeah, I wish him all the luck in the world except for one game.
Yeah, and I hope that game, it really hurts today.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit this one out.
It's a little bit cold, you can tell that,
You know what? Honestly, nah. Because I believe in our guy, and I'm talking about Elko here. All right, fine. You're fully loaded. I think this defense is going to be different.
I believe in our guy, but I'm always looking for every edge I can get.
Yeah. I'm saying that in July, OB.
Right.
The day of the game, I'm like, oh, he looks good in warm-ups, OB. What are we going to do?
I'm going to stop him. But they held him to about 109 yards rushing last year. They actually, except for 2 carries, did a really good job on him.
They did.
The first and the last.
And remember that we were like, here we go again.
Everything in between was pretty solid against him.
It was. Billy was making fun of me for being scared of South Carolina yesterday. And I don't know if scared is the right word. I mean, just Big Brother style, right? Just ribbing. I don't know if scared is the right word. I do have a lot of respect for them. And I have a lot of respect for Missouri, even though A&M has owned them recently.
Well, you should on both of them, because if you don't show up ready to play and you don't play well, especially South Carolina has proven that they will beat you, because the last 2 times A&M has played at South Carolina, quite frankly, they didn't show up looking like they were ready to play.
Yeah, and South Carolina showed up ready to play, and so did their fans. And I think those fans do make a difference there.
And that's for every game, not just A&M. They do have really good, I should say, loyal fans.
So from
South Carolina.
From today's list, OB, all right, we got about a minute left. Today's list. The only way A&M plays anybody outside of South Carolina would be in the SEC championship game.
Or the playoffs.
Or the playoffs. I don't think it's Auburn's year, although, they've always had the talent there. They've just had some brain farts in coaching the last few. Vanderbilt, I'm sorry, Clark Lee is going to take some time. South Carolina, Georgia, of course.
Yeah, Georgia, of course. Hey, I know a guy that tells me that the new Vanderbilt quarterback, and I can't think of his name right now, but he was the
Jared Vanderbilt.
He was the he was the 5-star guy.
Yeah, what's his name?
Jared Curtis.
There you go.
Yeah, they're telling me he's the real deal, and that they're going to be better at quarterback.
Did I call him Jared Vanderbilt? Is that what I called him? Sorry.
That would be a cool name if it was.
Yeah.
The question is, he's probably really good skill-wise.
Yeah.
But how's he going to perform? I used to cover Texas, and you would watch Chris Sims in the practice. He was great in games. He wasn't.
Yep. We got to drop it right there. Obi, thank you, sir.
Yep.
When we come back, SEC Mike on TexAgs Live. Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. This SEC Media Days coverage is brought to you by Aggie-owned and operated Paragon Financial Advisors, built on the values of the Aggie Network and proudly serving families and business owners nationwide. Learn more at paragon-adv.com. Our guest, Michael Bratton, SEC Mike, here on TexAgs Live. What's up, buddy?
Hey, doing well, David. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about a little exchange we had yesterday. So I interviewed your boy, cousin Shane. We're going to run that at some point today or tomorrow. And you walked by and you said, hey, you took it easy on Shane, right? Because Shane kind of has some takes when it comes to A&M. You are on the opposite side. I understand where Shane's coming from. I think he was saying doomsday scenario for A&M. You know, they miss out on a bowl. I get that. Where are you on A&M overall, on why you think they'll be good, and if they're not, this is why?
Yeah, well, Shane, I guess for some reason is a Marcel Reed hater.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a lot of haters out there. And for some reason, I don't understand it. Mike Elko, I think he's a little worried. The tail end of each season, they've kind of tailed off a little bit. He gives them a little too much grief for that. I don't. I think Mike Elko is a top 5 coach in this conference after just 2 years. I don't think he can get much better than that. So if things go poorly, though, I would say maybe the offensive line doesn't come together because that was so critical. I think the offensive coordinator hire, that is I don't know if it's a concern, but I think it's fair to call it a question mark.
Sure.
Even though the receivers have been outstanding under Coach Wiggins. That would be kind of the 2 biggest things, and just replacing some production on defense, particularly defensive line, maybe a little thin at linebacker. But, again, I'm picking apart one of the better teams in the conference, I think.
Outside of maybe a few teams in the country, we can have those same kind of talking points for several teams. Let's kind of go through it. I'm one who thinks Texas doesn't have a lot of questions, but I do think they have questions, right? They have questions on the offensive line. You want to talk about Ole Miss? There's certainly questions there. You want to talk about LSU? There's certainly questions there. So a lot of that second tier that is almost first tier in the SEC, that's why they're not first tier, because we just need to see more from a position or two.
No, absolutely. So I think A&M, right now, I would have them outside the playoff, probably like a 9-3 type record. But I'm assuming the SEC is only going to get 4 in this year.
Okay.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope there's 5 like there was last year. Heck, I'll take 6, David, because if there's 5 SEC teams in the playoff, Texas A&M's getting in. I got A&M 5th in the league.
Okay.
And a lot of that is Oklahoma, I think, is the second best team. They haven't been able to beat Texas. We're well aware of that. But if you beat Texas or you beat Oklahoma, I think you're in the college football playoff. But right now I would have Texas and Oklahoma favored in those games.
Okay, so is Texas and OU your 1 and 2, and then Georgia's 3?
No, I got Georgia 1.
Okay, Georgia
Oklahoma 2, Texas.
Okay,
and I've got Tennessee 4, which that precedes Oklahoma and Texas. So I got 3 playoff teams. A&M's finishing with.
So let me go to Tennessee for a second, because I've talked to a couple guys based out of Tennessee that feel like, hey, you guys are sleeping on what Heupel has here. He always has a new quarterback. He always, they're going to be fine. They're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to have tough defense. They're going to have one of the better offensive lines in the country. Slow down on the Tennessee, not hate, but the Tennessee being an 8-4 level team.
Yeah, that's so interesting to me, David. We forget just last year, we just live in a short-term society, it seems like, where we have no memory, because I recall this time last year, the quarterback walked off the team. Mm-hmm. And they said they had to get this guy from Appalachia. I didn't even know who Joey Aguilar was. You know what I mean? The offensive line was a question. Receivers were a question. What do? They go out there and put together the most productive passing attack in the Southeastern Conference. Now they bring back a 1,000-yard rusher. They bring back a lot of those linemen. They bring back key receivers. They have an abundance of talent around the quarterback. Now, it's very inexperienced at quarterback, but I believe it's going to be Faison Brandon, the true freshman, and I think that's going to allow Josh Heupel to run the football and run the quarterback more than he's done since he's had Hendon Hooker. They haven't had a running quarterback, really. Nico, we thought he was going to be that, but not even he was really that. So I think Tennessee is going to be pretty prolific. I got them going 10-2 this year.
I forget what you asked me, but it was on your show last year at SEC Media Days. I think it was who I think is going to have a real bad season or something to that effect. And I said South Carolina. I talked about Lenore Sellers being a really good quarterback, but I didn't like the pieces around him. Okay. This year, I'm actually worried about South Carolina for an A&M perspective. A, because you got to go back to South Carolina. B, I feel like the Kendall Browse addition and some of the other changes that they've made, they've always had talent, but I think it's going to be even better talent this year. Am I right or wrong on South Carolina this year?
Yeah, it really depends on who you ask here, David. I've been asking everybody about Carolina. They're either it's boom or bust. Beamer's gone, or this could be – I haven't talked to anybody that says a playoff team, but maybe an 8-9 win team. And I think they have that capability.
He keeps his job with an 8-win season, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I love the hire of Kendall Browse. I think he'll really unlock what Lenore Sellers does well. Lenore Sellers, I don't think, is obviously a prototypical NFL passer, reading the defense, trying to play the pro style. That's kind of what they were trying to get him to do last year. He's got to be quick decisions. He's got to run the football a lot more. I know Kendall Browse's offense. That's what they're going to ask him to do. He fits it like a glove.
Yeah, I agree. I think all those reasons why I think they're a team that's going to be significantly better than people think. Missouri. Do you believe Ahmad Hardy might be ready to go at some point in September, October?
I don't. No. Now, they've come out and they've kind of...
They said he might.
Right. They said he might, right? So Drink was optimistic, but I don't know. It was kind of interesting the way he phrased all that. So I certainly hope he is. He's one of the best players in the country, but I'm totally out on Missouri. They can't develop a quarterback. Why is it going to be Austin Simmons?
Right.
This is the same stuff we heard from Ole Miss last year. I don't know if you recall. I think Ole Miss paid him about $3 million last year. He sat the bench, of course, because they had Trinidad, but I don't think Austin Simmons is a bad guy or anything, but I just think he's overhyped, and I really don't like the offensive coordinator hired Chip Lindsey either. I don't think he's much of a quarterback coach, so we're hiring him to fix the passing attack. I'm not buying it. They don't return a single defensive starter. I think Missouri, not terrible, but maybe like a 7-5 type team.
Ole Miss, can they replicate what they did last year with, yes, Pete Golding, but a completely different staff around that offensive unit?
I think that's one of the biggest question marks this offseason in the SEC. But if they do, David, I think it's going to look a lot different because from what I'm hearing in Oxford, I think they're going to have, the word they're saying is dominant defensive front in the front seven. So they really like the defensive line. They've added a couple transfers at linebacker. So this is more of a Pete Golding type program, obviously. Still have Trinidad and Keywan, still have three of the interior offensive linemen. Deuce Alexander's back at receiver, but everyone else is gone at receiver. So I think this offense is going to look significantly different, even though they brought back an offensive coordinator that has run the similar style. I don't think it's going to be quite as prolific. They're really going to need the defense to step up.
There aren't that many returning SEC quarterbacks, but if you were to pick one who's going to take maybe a sidestep, a little step backward, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a great question, too, because everybody wants to know who's taking the step forward.
Right.
Who's taking a step back? It probably is Trinidad.
Okay.
And I really like him. I think you could certainly make the case that he's the best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference after what he did to Georgia last year. But in my power rankings of the quarterbacks, I try to project at the end of the season.
Sure.
So I put him 2.
Who was 1?
Arch.
Arch, okay.
So I think Arch takes that step forward. And Trinidad, so to answer your question, he takes a baby step back at 2.
I want to ask you about Arch and Marcel here. And I forget who maybe I asked this of Anwar, but I feel like when we talk about both of those quarterbacks, the last part of the season is what most people focus on. Arch, I thought, was okay, really good. Marcel, okay, really, really good, really good, and then obviously not so good at the end. How should we be holding on to the end of the season as much as we are when we project forward to 2026 with either of those quarterbacks?
We shouldn't, but I think that's just human nature. I think that's what we're going to do. And I think Arch was banged up a lot of last year. I think he was a little bit healthier at the end, unlocked a lot more running ability. And I'm not an Arch truther. I had him like 7th or 8th last year heading into the season. I thought it was way overblown, and clearly it was. He did not live up to the hype. And I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman or anything like that. In fact, I've made the prediction, I don't even think he's a Heisman finalist. Because it seems like whenever there's a favorite to win it in the preseason, for whatever reason, the Heisman voters they look for reasons to vote for someone else.
Sure they do.
And how to knock him down. So if he has a rough game, say against Ohio State or A&M or Oklahoma, I think he'll lose the Heisman. And I don't think that's right, that's the way they do it, but it seems like that's the way they always do it.
What happens if Texas doesn't make the playoffs?
Sark's got to be fired. I mean, point blank, I would not bring him back. And I think that's the biggest question mark for Texas. I think their frontline talent is as good as any, but I think their head coach is average at best. And every time he faces a really good coach, I think he gets outclassed.
So how important is it for A&M to go and take care of business this year? Because, I mean, you have Elko as a top 5 coach.
Yeah. I mean, what a conundrum that would be for A&M if they lose 3 to Texas. And Coach Elko's doing a wonderful job. The recruiting is insane. I mean, I think Coach Elko, if he stays, we just never know if these coaches, how long they're going to stay. If he stays at A&M for 5 more years, which I fully expect he will, I think he's going to win a national championship. But how much heat is he going to be under if he loses 3 in a row to Texas? I don't think they'd run him off, but he'd be facing some tough questions in the offseason. Let's say they go 11-1 again, but the one loss is to Texas. That'd be brutal.
Who's the team that you trust, but they haven't proven enough yet?
It probably Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah. Going back to the original question. Yeah.
I think that's fair. Because again, am I guaranteeing they're going to go 10-2? No. Certainly, there's a path. They go 8-4, 7-5. I've heard a lot of that. Bobby Burton over at on Texas, he told me Tennessee's going 4-8. Well, that gives you an idea of what I think of Texas people's opinion. But I kid, Bobby. But again, I mean, you could certainly make the case, and I understand why people say that. They've got to go out there and earn it after last year. Losing to Vanderbilt. Heupel himself said it yesterday. There's no excuse to losing to Vanderbilt, particularly at home.
Well, what about Vanderbilt this year? It's a reload, reboot for them too. I think they're going to drive that bus right off the cliff. You know what I mean? And I like Clark Lee. I'm rooting for him. I love the story. Heck, last offseason, David, I thought Vanderbilt could surprise a lot of people, and I said 8-4. And they did 10-2. Yeah. I mean, I never saw that coming. I know Diego, there's split opinion on that guy. He was phenomenal for them. He was.
He won them games. He just made so many great plays for them. But I just don't think he could duplicate that. Now, I have seen the true freshman, Jared Curtis. I think he's going to be a fabulous player. Probably not this year, though. Year 2, year 3, if he stays. You just can't count on that these days in college football. But I think they'd be fortunate to make a bowl game.
Here we are 13 minutes in, and I have not asked you about Alabama. Also a new quarterback for them, Kalen DeBoer. It feels like the stock is going down. That's what the feeling is. Yep. But I always remind people, he won a playoff game.
He did.
Right? And A&M is trying to get to that point, and Coach Elko still feels like and I believe it, just like you, that he could win a national championship at A&M here in the next few years. But where are you on Alabama this year?
I'm completely out on 4-loss DeBoer. That's what I'm calling him.
4-loss DeBoer.
Loses 4 games every year at Alabama. He's going to lose 4 more.
Kalen 8-4.
8-4 is what Bama's going to be this year. They return 1 starter on offense, and the starter they bring back, David, he did so poorly last year, he changed his name. I don't think he wants to be associated with his performance last year. So, I'm totally down on Alabama. They're going to lose probably to Georgia, Tennessee, LSU, and A&M.
Okay. I like the way you predict that. How much do you follow? I think you mostly talk about teams, but how much are you following what the future of college football is going to be? Do you care about what Sankey said yesterday that, hey, we've considered doing our own thing? There seems to be, and I'm sorry I'm making such a long question, the insiders who cover that seem to be a little bit more optimistic than I thought about this Protect College Sports Act, which I don't think it's possible that it gets fixed in the next 10 days.
Right. Well, I'm kind of like with my audience where it seems like they're so fatigued with talking about Congress and bills and Senate and all this, that, and the other. So I try to stay in my lane. Let me know when it passes, and then I'll kind of break it down. But I just think it's foolish to waste so much time and money and effort trying to get the government to help us. I think NCAA, college football, SEC, Big Ten, they need to make some concessions. They need to make some decisions and go with it. That's kind of where I stand with all that.
So if 4 SEC teams make the playoffs, and you think it'll be 4, not 5 this year, how many from the Big Ten?
Mostly due to the 9-game SEC. You know what I mean?
Half your league is losing games.
Right.
So how many from the Big Ten?
I hope 0, but I know they're guaranteed one. So, I mean, that's like a 3 or 4 program conference, in my opinion. So they'll probably get 4 as well. I don't know that they deserve it, but yeah, they'll get their way. They'll get at least 4.
Okay, and then 1 Big 12 team?
That's what I'm rooting for. That's what we need in the SEC. We need a dominant dominant in air quotes for their league, dominant ACC, because we want those to be 1-bid leagues.
Yep.
That's how we'll get 5 in the SEC. But it's going to be a tough situation if there's, say, 3 10-2 teams in each of those leagues. They're going to be battling it out for probably 3-loss SEC teams, and I think the committee should take a 3-loss SEC over a 2-loss Big 12 or ACC, but I don't trust them enough to do it.
Mike, the upper tier of the SEC has not been as good as the upper tier of the Big Ten, and the proof is just what's happened in the playoffs. Do you think the upper tier of the SEC this year is up to par of what we used to see?
No, I really don't. And, I mean, Kirby Smart says it himself. Yeah. So I got Georgia winning the league. If they have critical injuries at critical spots, then I don't have faith in them even doing that. And that's just the way it is. The talent is dispersed so across the conference now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's possible to have a dominant team like that in the Southeastern Conference anymore.
Yeah. I agree with you there. My worry is 4-5 years. Why do you? What's your opinion? SEC Mike's opinion of why the Big Ten has been so top heavy and the SEC's been spread so thin?
Well, I think that certainly they have an advantage when it comes to alumni and money.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have those issues at A&M. I know we don't. I know we don't have those issues at Texas. You know, there's certain schools, LSU's throwing all this money, so there's money in the Southeastern Conference, but I don't know if it's quite to the level of the Big Ten. And I think they've been able to attract more of the athletes in the South, have gone to Big Ten schools. They're doing well in the portal as well. But again, it's only a few select schools in the Big Ten, whereas the other teams, I think they just kind of exist to cash that Big Ten paycheck up there.
Do you know if there is a SEC Mike equivalent in the Big Ten? Do they got a guy?
If they do, I never heard of them. I never want to hear from them. You know what?
Yeah. Hey, last thing for you. If you had to put your money down on A&M, you think 9-3 is the level of team they are as of today based on the questions you have?
Yeah, I think that's fair, 9-3. And again, that could get you in, but I don't think it does.
I want so much more than that, obviously. I do think 9-3 with that schedule, with the question marks that you have, talking today on July 21st, would be a really good season based on where A&M is.
I think so, too. Again, the one thing, though, I've said a lot of nice things about Coach Elko. Can they finish strong?
Yep.
And the fact that this year, again, I'm probably higher on Tennessee than most. Tennessee, I think it's at Oklahoma, and then Texas. If you can't finish strong and that's your stretch, 3 playoff teams in my mind, that's going to derail the season. So you got to go out there and prove that you can finish strong, something they've yet to do.
Mike, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Absolutely.
SEC Mike here on TexAgs Live. Check out his great work. All right, right now we're going to hit a break. We'll come back. I think we're going to talk to a little Arkansas insider. Right now, when it comes to your money, if you want somebody who takes care of you, you got to go to Guarantee Bank and Trust. Someone who believes maroon and white, you got to go to Guarantee Bank and Trust. Somebody who knows how to build something in the Brazos Valley, it's going to be Guarantee Bank and Trust. That's exactly what they do there. Their market president, Brandon Sears, is an incredible guy. A&M graduate. He planted roots here. This community does matter to him as it matters to all of you, and their passion shows up on how the team is doing their banking. Community banking means your loan doesn't get shipped off to a committee 2 states down the road. It means that the person approving your mortgage is in town. Guarantee Bank and Trust is going to grow with it and invest right back into the community. Stop by one of their 3 Bryan College Station locations or go to gnty.com. That is gnty.com. It's Guarantee Bank and Trust, a division of Glacier Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
What's up, everybody? I'm here to tell you about Fratella Italian Cafe. If anyone knows anything about Italian food, it's me, Billy Liucci. And Fratella has the best Italian food in BCS. Located at 3901 South Texas Avenue, Fratella is known for their handmade pasta dishes and feature lasagna, beef cannelloni, chicken parmesan, chicken fettuccine alfredo, a couple of my favorites, just a big old bowl of plain old spaghetti and some manicotti. Really recommend the manicotti. That's my go-to. And don't walk out of there without trying the fresh, piping hot breadsticks and the homemade in-house cheesecake, which is incredible. It's great for dining in, catering, gift cards, and even shipping, which they do nationwide. Fratella's is Aggie-owned and operated, and it's an official restaurant partner of Texas A&M Athletics. I'll see you there.
Who doesn't love a 42-minute commercial break? It's TexAgs Live. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio, and it is time for a little more SEC Media Day coverage brought to you by Paragon Financial Advisors. Our friend John Nabors, the owner of Inside Arkansas, also Locked on Hogs. Mr. Nabors, what up?
It's great to be back. How are you guys?
Hi, I got to get into it. I already see people on our YouTube page that are coming to watch from the Arkansas perspective. You told me something yesterday. That Arkansas fans feel like A&M, that's going to be the big win for them this year. But I ask you why, John Nabors, why is A&M the big win?
Because anytime Arkansas beats A&M, which as we know is so often over the past 15 years, it's been a great year for Arkansas. And I've always brought it up where when these two teams started playing in what was the Southwest Classic, Arkansas's only won 4 times. And in those 4 seasons, Arkansas won 8 games, 10 games, 11 games, 9 games. And the other years that they didn't, it was always 7 wins or less, and that includes bowl victories. So it always feels like that game was always the difference maker of Arkansas having a good season or an average to below average season. But listen, going down to College Station, especially during that stretch for the Razorbacks, I just don't see it happening.
Well, look, I have, maybe because I'm what's the word? I have low T when it comes to my expectations sometimes based on the opponent at that time, right? You get the Arkansas week, like, oh man, KJ Jefferson in years past. Like, there's certain things that scare me, right? Mm-hmm. But A&M has done so well in this series, and it doesn't matter if A&M's good, bad, they find ways in this series. Well, why this year in particular about A&M? Like, what is it about A&M, or is it more about Arkansas?
I think it's more about I know this is a cop-out answer, but it's kind of the whole situation in that moment on part of the schedule, because Arkansas has Georgia, then Tulsa, which are one of them. Then they go to A&M, then they have Tennessee at home afterwards. So they have kind of a weird stretch there. Yeah. But going into College Station, which we know is going to be a hostile environment, and knowing that, Arkansas is always close but no cigar against the Aggies, I don't think it's going to be a blowout or anything like that, but there's just always just that factor about A&M where, and I know it's new coach with Ryan Silver, it just feels like they kind of have the ownership of the mentality that Arkansas has as a program, where it's like, oh, you can have a big league, but hey, it's A&M. It's almost like a psychological thing, but I think A&M and just the talent that they have, obviously getting a quarterback back and being at home, hostile environment, I just think all those things is just a bad recipe for a pretty new team with a new coach and a new quarterback going down there.
All right, John, what about Ryan Silverfield? Why is he the right guy?
Well, we've been trying to discuss that for a while now, and the one thing that I will give him credit for is I think he's done a lot of good things so far. I mean, as good as you can do in the offseason. But one thing that he has done really well at every stop he's been, which is one at Memphis, but not a lot of penalties, not a lot of turnovers. That's what every coach wants to have. But if you think about Arkansas last year that went 2-10, that probably should have been an 8-4 team. It was amazing, but they kept losing games by making major mistakes, turning the ball over, adding penalties. And that was the difference. And so I think I've always bring it up with everybody that I've talked to about Arkansas, but since 2012, Arkansas is 17-49 in one-possession games. 17-49. What's the reason behind that? Well, it could be a lot of things, but a lot of times it's just the turnovers, just the penalties. So Silverfield focusing in on that, I don't know if he's going to get the talent. I don't know if he's going to have the systems, but they're at least going to be pretty sound when it comes to those fundamentals. And those are the differences that in those one-possession games you can come out on top. So to me, if he can just utilize that strength and get some talent to go along with it, I think they'll be all right.
Chris Marshall, talk to us. Does he have a role with Arkansas this year, and how is he matured as a young man?
Well, I will say this, because I know we talked about him. being there in spring practice, seeing him, you can just tell, okay, this is a bona fide SEC athlete.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just
body-wise, everything.
You can tell if you were just didn't know numbers or names and you looked at the wide receivers, you're like, oh, yeah, that's the guy. But, at this point, because of his journey and because of some of the issues, I want to give him credit. There's been nothing but praise since he's arrived on campus, nothing but greatness going on. But he's a guy that you can in the spring game, if you want to call it that or whatever they wanted to say, he had so many drops. He had 3 drops himself, and that was not what happened in spring practice. So it's like he has all the ability, but is he going to be able to be consistent? That's going to be the key. They have some pretty decent wide receivers, but when you talk about a game-breaking, get the ball in his hands and see what happens, he's that type of player, and I hope they just utilize him the right way because I think he can be a huge difference maker.
And how do we feel about quarterback and the ability to get him the ball?
Not great. I'm just going to be honest. And it's, there's development there, but nowadays in the transfer portal era, especially, to have a quarterback in the SEC starting for you that did not start the previous year anywhere, it's one thing to start at the old school, but not to start at a group of 5 school or nothing. You don't have that. KJ Jackson, I love his upside, but in the spring there was just a lot of struggles there, and he was a guy that started 1 game last year, but I don't count that when you're 2-10 in garbage time. So I think he's going to be the starter. No one's been named. I think he's going to be the starter. The other one's AJ Hill, who Ryan Silverfield brought over from Memphis. I don't think he's it either. So there's upside, there's potential, but it's just a tough thing when you're looking at the rest of the conference and you look at your quarterback situation, you're like, oh geez, how do you justify and say, no, this is going to be okay? I just can't really point to anything and be like, no, this is why it's going to be fine. It's going to be a process.
Jaden Platt spent some time with A&M. Do you expect him to have a role?
I do. And in fact, I was a little surprised that he came back. Not to say that he was good enough to go pro or that he was unhappy at Arkansas, but when you have an overhaul there, and we know Bobby Petrino, the former offensive coordinator and the former offensive coordinator at A&M, like Jaden Platt, I thought maybe that was his guy. Yeah. Thought that was his guy, but he decided to return, and I think that he's had a role, especially in the spring practices, whether he's running with the 1s or the 2s. He's definitely been involved, but I feel like they're going to be using him more as a blocking tight end, which is kind of what he is, but I'll be curious to see if they're going to try to get him the ball at all, or if they're just like, hey, this is the role you're going to play. But I still think he's going to be out there being on the field. Just what production will he have is going to be the biggest question.
I know Sam Pittman is not there, but it feels like he's there when you talk about 5 guys on the offensive line, all with experience, although 3 of them transfers. Talk to me about the O-line.
So luckily, we're going to be able to have a chance to hear from Caden Kittler, who is the starting center there. That was big. Getting him and Kobe Branham back was massive because, offensive line continuity, you want that, but especially with a new coach with Ryan Silverfield, it's ironic. His background is offensive line too, just like Sam Pittman's was. So to have guys that you at least know can play in this league is huge. I'm not saying they're all Americans or all SEC players, but they know how to play in this league. And then you bring in a Malachi Breland to transfer from Memphis, is a big old boy. I mean, he's nasty. And I think he's going to have a huge role in this as well. And then have some other guys like Bryant Williams, the transfer that a lot of schools like Tennessee was going after. I think they have a good core of offensive line. But as we all know, it's about staying healthy. And it's also about the type of offense and being able to be physical up front. I think, again, they have the pieces, but just the inexperience at all those other spots in this league, in the SEC, going up against guys like Georgia, going up against teams like A&M with those huge fronts. I just don't know for sure if I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, this is going to be great. But they're not going to be terrible. They're going to be a serviceable offensive line overall.
I know you got to get going, but let me just ask you this. Arkansas, #1 toughest strength of schedule, according to ESPN, with a brand new head coach.
Yeah. Welcome to the SEC, Ryan Silverfield. In your first year, we get to go with 9 SEC games. Oh, and also your first SEC game, you get to play Georgia. How about that? And you get to do it when you're coming off of a road trip to Utah.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know what happens and how this continues to happen, but there's no excuses. Everyone's got a tough schedule. But for Arkansas, I will give them credit. It starts really tough in the SEC and ends really tough because obviously in the first few games in the SEC, you got Georgia, Texas A&M, Tennessee. You end with at Texas and LSU. But in that little 4-game stretch where you have Missouri, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, as well as Auburn, that's the key stretch. You may not start great, may not finish great, but if you can find a couple wins in there, if you can just get to a 6-6 season, that'd be incredible. I mean, that would be absolutely incredible. I know it's asking a lot, but schedule's the schedule. You can't whine about it. You can't complain about it. You got to go out and do it. And so we'll see if Arkansas does, but we'll see.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you, brother.
Anytime, man.
John Nabors here on TexAgs Live. Moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell online. CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Your trade-in's got value, and Caldwell Country Chevrolet wants to hook you up. They want to put equity to work for you there. They have a pre-owned inventory that moves fast, which means they're always looking to add quality vehicles to their lot. Bring in what you have and let their experienced sales team show you what it's worth. And I think all those years of combined experience there in Caldwell are going to mean that you're going to get really the value that you've been looking for your vehicle and beyond. Remember, it's about a 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Welcome back in to the show that I call TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio, and this SEC Media Days coverage is brought to you by Aggie-owned and operated Paragon Financial Advisors, built on the values of the Aggie Network and proudly serving families and business owners nationwide. You can learn more at paragon-adv.com. So, we're in a weird situation because Billy's supposed to join us this segment.
We're in purgatory.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, guys, we're just going to chit-chat here. I don't know. I'll probably throw it to a break at some point. They're like 9 minutes long now, so we'll probably do that, and then Billy will probably join us and realize that we're up against the clock, and then he can't come. Billy's supposed to do the segment, but he's been stopped by like 9 people, and now he's doing a thing with Chris Marler. He says he'll be back in a minute and a half. That was 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's definitely been over a minute and a half.
And he hasn't started his Chris Marler thing. So here we are. Anyway, we've got some stuff we can run here, but I think we're just going to chit-chat for a minute. I found this funny. When I was talking about Jared Curtis, I called him Jared Vanderbilt.
Jared Vanderbilt.
Okay, which, by the way, was
I might have to work here, David. Okay. Should I keep my headset on so the people can... Hey.
Oh, okay.
People...
Work on it. State it. I'll just tell this story to myself. Not a big deal. I like when I tell
going.
No, it's okay. You do what you got to do, buddy.
No, I know, but I want to keep my headset on so the people can hear how
anyway,
I work.
I called him Jared Vanderbilt. I also, on the show today, I think, although people say they didn't hear it, I think I said we'll be back on SEC Live. I think I said that, which is embarrassing.
It's SEC Live.
It's not SEC Live. That's not a different network. We got friends on SEC Live.
Yeah.
I think that's the name of their show. I've watched it before. Anyway, I want to talk about some of the things we have heard today. And I found it very interesting that Arkansas, and who some of their fans are still in the YouTube page, that Arkansas. Pate, you doing the show this week?
Yeah.
All right.
Do it tomorrow.
Okay, I'll text you. Pate says tomorrow.
You did the work. I didn't. Sorry.
Yeah.
He got ambushed before. It's like a Shark Tank. If you're not the first to jump on somebody, then
I just yelled at him.
Yeah, hey, that was
I
cool.
might have ended the friendship there. Hey, you're on live radio. You're doing the show this week, bro.
That's how I talk to people too. I go up. I went over to Hutton earlier, and I didn't say hi. Just hey, you want to go on now?
Guys, I'm gonna be real honest with you. I think I should hit a break here, even though I know Billy will be here in a minute, because he can't do a segment for 3 minutes.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think that's the move.
I don't think it's going to work out in our favor.
Plus our 15-minute break, so we'll come back with enough time for Billy.
Yeah, we'll do that. In fact, let me do this. Let me talk about I already spoke about him. I'll speak about him again. Our good friends who brought us here, Paragon Financial Advisors. Great teams don't chase quick wins. They build for long-term success. The same philosophy applies to your financial life and your business. And at Aggie-owned and operated Paragon Financial Advisors, the focus isn't on chasing headlines or reacting to the market's every move. It's about building throughout a big-time financial plan that helps you pursue your goals for years to come. That means helping families prepare for retirement, guiding business owners as they grow successful companies, and helping them prepare for the day that they're ready to sell or transition the business that they've worked so hard to build. If you're ready to take that long view, visit paragon-adv.com to learn more. Paragon Financial Advisors, Aggie-owned, independent, serving clients nationwide. Welcome back into TexAgs Live.
Mr. Tish.
You want to explain what Mr. Tish is, Billy Liucci?
The dietitian. He was judging everyone for what they eat.
See, you get the story wrong.
Mr.
Dan
Tish.
Matthews, as I'm on a break, picks up one of these packets of candy or cookies. And he goes, hey, only 270 calories and 18 grams of sugar. That's pretty good. And you're going to say that to me? I'm going to say, no, bro, that isn't good. Why would you bring it? He brought it to me. Am I yelling?
We're in an open space. There's other people doing radio shows. Look, I'm okay with it because it allowed me to come up with the nickname Mr. Tish.
I'll be Mr. Tish.
The dietitian.
I don't mind being Mr. Tish. All right, so
I want one of these to stick where they start calling you that at the house, like the kids like it. They got to be one that they take a liking to.
Hey,
one day I'll hit.
You know who would probably do it for you? Annalise and Isla. They have become your biggest fans.
I love it. I love them.
You know what? They've already told me this, so act surprised.
Okay.
They're going to start calling you Uncle Billy.
No, I like that. I do. I
Because
love that.
all because you posted a video from that concert in Chicago with Morgan Wallen and Ella Langley. And like now they're like, Dad, I've got to become friends with Billy. I want to go to one of those concerts.
See, I wish that you would have told me this fall when Ella Langley played it, in
I told him.
friend's house in the historic district.
I've told him, I've missed so many cool concerts.
You have.
Billy has invited me to 2. And I think I just, if you don't text me, if you don't initiate, I'm not going to bother him. But I will, this year, if you invite, I go.
I still got to bring you to Kill Tony. Because I know that's what you would love as much as any concert besides Bad Bunny, which I will not be inviting you to.
I've already gone to Bad Bunny. Morgan Wallen's the next one on the list.
It's a great concert.
I bet it is. All right,
I don't understand people that don't like him. Like, I don't understand how you can't just drive.
He's too pop.
So what? It's good music. It's just good to sing to.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so here's my thing for you. You're shaking hands. You're talking to all the national media, the local guys. What are you hearing from people about A&M so far?
Kind of what I think what myself and our listeners would expect. Like, there's a lot of talk about Marcel. There's a ton of faith in Elko and what he's going to do at A&M. And then they're just kind of like, everyone seems to think A&M is one of these, not fringe playoff teams, but like one of these teams that could very well land in the playoffs. It just they're kind of right on that cut line, I think, in a lot of people's eyes, along with teams. I would say teams like Alabama, Ole Miss, and probably here's what I've noticed. Probably what they think. Probably LSU, Bama, Ole Miss, A&M, because I'm getting the feeling while I'm sitting here, most people to me seem to think OU's like a playoff lock, which surprises me. Not because I could certainly see them getting back, and I've said before, I think it's A&M's toughest game because of when it falls on the schedule, that great defense, and playing it on the road with a quarterback in Mateer that I expect will, just like I expect Marcel, I think John Mateer makes a big leap as well, because I think they both showed last year how capable they were at doing it. I would contend Marcel showed it more.
Yeah.
People in Norman would say, well, hey, he had a hand injury midseason, and I don't want to discount that. I don't think some of the decision-making later in the year he's got to work on, and it really costs them at times. But I do think in that middle of the season, certainly when you miss a few weeks of practice, like particularly that Texas game, it's going to take you some time to get back. But OU seems to be getting a little more benefit of the doubt than some of the other teams I just mentioned. They love Mateer again, like they did last year when I was kind of a little skeptical. Still am, but I think he makes that jump. But they love Mateer. They love that defense. And I look at their schedule, though, and I go, you better win 2 of 3 against Georgia, Texas, and Michigan. And I think they will beat Michigan. But you got to beat Georgia or Texas.
Yep.
Because if they start 1 and 2, I know individually, game by game, it's kind of like what we can do with A&M and look at all 12 games and go, I could see A&M winning that one. All 12 of them you can do that with. But if they've got 7 SEC games left, any 7, and theirs are not just any 7, because Ole Miss and A&M are in that 7 for sure, and I think one other tough one as well. Going 7-0 is going to be exceedingly difficult. So, and I know 9-3. I keep cautioning you guys. Maybe it's 9-3 SEC team that gets in. It's not going to be like 9-3 gets you in.
Well, SEC Mike says he thinks there's only going to be 4 SEC teams that get into the playoffs because of that 9th game, because they're going to give a tie to a Big 12 team that's maybe 10-2.
Well, how many got there last year?
From the SEC 5 last year.
There were 5.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it'll be 5 again.
You do?
Yeah, I do think when push comes to shove, if it's a Big 12 team, I'd be way more worried about a Big 10 team or them trying to shoehorn. Here's who could be a problem next year is like that second ACC team.
Yeah.
If it's SMU, if SMU went
10-2,
well, then they'd be 10-3 if they lost to let's say SMU went like 11, or somebody in the ACC, maybe they navigated a pretty easy schedule and they went 11-1 and lost to say a Miami, or say Miami went 11-1, lost to a 10-2 SMU.
Yeah.
They're probably shoehorning a second in. So I could see it. If you're asking me to predict today, I'll still say 5.
5 will get in.
Yeah.
Brooks Austin, the film guy, was on with us, obviously, and I asked him, like, where do you see, holes for A&M? He's like, man, I think there's pretty much an A- at every position. Then he paused. He said, well, the offensive line, I got to see it. But he thinks the secondary might be the best in the country.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
David.
That's what I said. I said it on the podcast the other day. I got grilled on social media for it. I think I'm going to be right. I saw Mike Elko. We put it out last night. We had, we were represented over there at Coaches Night in Houston, and Mike Elko said he thinks it's the best secondary he's coached in 7 years here.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a really freaking good secondary. They've got several draft picks. I have no idea where they'll go. I don't think there's a first rounder in there, but they got several draft picks. They've got a ton of depth. They've got SEC experience. I love the group. Like, you got a starter at Washington, a starter at Colorado. You've got a starter at Georgia that might not even crack your starting 5, but by the way, they're all going to play a lot, and any of those 3 could start. Jordan Shaw, it's he or Bryce, I think, at nickel. So any of them could start. And then you've got a 5-star like Brandon Arrington sitting there that's going to, as the season goes on. So I love the secondary. I think the O-line, I agree. We've talked about that a lot. I'd give the O-line, going into the season like usually give an incomplete, but they haven't played anything yet. So I would just put TBD.
Yeah.
And it's a very important TBD.
Maybe the most important TBD.
So, but I think it's a really good football team if this O-line can play. And Mike Elko, he talked about the depth. I'm looking at that list there, and like I said yesterday, guys like Ivy and Bordon, and they're Lamont Rogers, Tyler Thomas is far enough along. Like those 4 guys just off right now, as I sit here, like I'm not even diving into the whole list, but to me, like those 4, any of those 4, I could see cracking the starting lineup. I'm not saying 4 of them will. I'm not saying 2 of them will, but any of those 4 I could see in there. Plus, you've got the 4 portals, and the one that people talk about the least, to me, seems to be Travon Ball, who I think, if I'm guessing today, I think he's a starting left guard. He's been really impressive since getting here.
Do you have, and maybe you don't want to do this right now, but do you have a feeling how the offensive line could look?
Yeah, I've actually put it in a write-up. I'm not quite done with it yet. I'll probably finish that tonight. Okay. Put Zane to work. He cries a lot,
Well, you've got...
his face will get a lot longer when I tell him I've got like a 3,000-word...
Oh, so much editing.
I've got to edit. It takes an hour. And he's so insulting about it because he makes it like you don't know the English language. I'm like, hey, Zane, you know what? Zip bleep. You know what I call him? Zipsha. I could edit that in 5 minutes. And you'd say it takes an hour. You just look at it and go. So I want to put a timer on him one time and just like
stand behind him as he's doing it.
Yeah, I think he's pretty dramatic about editing.
Yeah. And
he complains to me about editing. Like, say, if you wrote something, he'll complain to you if I write something. This is what he does.
Well, so I guess your way of saying stay tuned.
Yeah.
For radio until that publishes next week or whenever it publishes.
Like tomorrow.
It's gonna be tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like it's about done.
All right. So let me ask you this, and you don't have to give me a name. We got about a minute and a half in the segment. Would you be surprised if one of these young guys that we've seen develop through the ranks ends up being a starter?
Not at all. Not at all. And I think if that happens to me, it's probably at right guard, but that could also be Cohen Eccles.
Mm-hmm.
Cohen can play guard or center. So he could there's a chance he could be that swing guy if he doesn't start, but he could also start. So to me, that right guard spot is probably, it's to me anyway, I think if I'm predicting, I'd say it's Eccles or one of those names I mentioned. Lamont Rogers is a true tackle. So not Lamont. But I could see him, the way he finished spring or went through spring.
You see him playing a lot.
He and Tyree will be a really interesting battle at left tackle, and they're really happy with Tyree so far, too.
Billy, I appreciate you, sir.
Well, I'm coming back.
Oh, you're coming back? We're doing more? Let's go.
Do you have somebody on?
No. I enjoy talking to Billy.
Nick, panicking.
Who do we have coming on?
Pan Nick, as I call him.
I got you, as requested, Nick Roush at 10.
Okay.
Kentucky Insider.
Wow. I'm getting roushed right off the air.
Well,
you're roushing me.
No, you can stay.
It sounds like I'm getting roushed.
Well, you want SEC Media Days to be all the guests in the world, every program. We only got 15 hours.
I don't care about me.
Not even 12. No, but I want you to join us for Kentucky Talk. I think you'd be great.
I'd rather not.
We got to hit a break.
I'm going to go do an interview, and I'll come back through here in a little bit.
All right, you can finish out the show with us. Sound good?
Sounds good.
That is the great Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Live. All right, we'll do this. We'll hit a break. We'll come back, talk a little Kentucky football with Nick Roush of KSR next on the world-famous TexAgs Live. And we are back here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. This SEC Media Days coverage is brought to you by Paragon Financial Advisors. And we're going to talk to our buddy Nick Roush from KSR. A little Kentucky yesterday on the podium. I saw you work in the room frantically. Not frantically, you were just doing your thing. What's up, buddy?
It felt frantic. It felt exciting. It was weird. One, I've been doing this for a decade or so. First time covering a new coach at an SEC Media Days. Not used to that.
Right.
Mark Stoops was here for so long. And as much as Kentucky fans are grateful and appreciative for what Mark Stoops did at Kentucky, I mean, he 2 10-win seasons in 4 years. It was getting stale.
Yeah.
and a year ago, Stoops is complaining about, this bleep is hard, right? I don't want to make any headlines. Stein was the polar opposite. I mean, the exact opposite. Brought a lot of energy. He exuded a lot of confidence in what he believes he can do at Kentucky. And I think Kentucky fans need to hear that because it is harder to win in the SEC now than ever is before. It requires a lot of money. Kentucky fans were worried they didn't have any because of the way that Mark Stoops talked. And for Stein to say authoritatively that he believes he can get it done, it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I thought he won yesterday. And when I say won, not that they're giving prizes for the best interviews, but I thought he presented himself in a way that, all right, I can get behind this guy, see what Kentucky thinks about him.
Well, and to your point, I mean, if doing interviews would win you games, then Shane Beamer would be the national champion, right? It only gets you so far.
Sure.
But I like to say that how you do anything is how you do everything. I mean, in all of the little things he has done right this offseason, whether it's, how he talks, how he communicates with the fans, how he's been able to build a roster, his way he's been able to fundraise. I mean, he's from Louisville.
Yeah.
Played at Louisville, but his dad went to UK. And Louisville, biggest city in the state of Kentucky. Yeah. There were a lot of donors who just weren't even getting asked to write checks to Kentucky football. They were just waiting to pick up the phone. Well, Will Stein's calling them.
Yeah.
So he has checked all of the boxes. And to come in on day one, when there's a lot of excitement here, and to be the new guy and to deliver that message with authority, it wasn't remember when Clark Lee said, our goal is to win a national championship?
People laughed.
Yeah. It wasn't like that. It was more Signetti-like where they were like, oh, so who's this guy?
Right.
It wasn't this sort of this guy from Kentucky. There was this Will Stein guy, he might be onto something.
Yep. So Kenny Minchie, how does he fit in this system? And what do we think about him so far?
The way that Joe Sloan and Will Stein have described him is it's almost like he's been in their offense for years.
Okay.
I mean, he went to Notre Dame, so he's not a dummy.
Yeah.
But I think the part that when the receivers talk about him, they're like, I turn my head and the ball's right there. I mean, it almost surprises you. And so I think what Minchie, I don't know where he's ultimately going to land on this pecking order, but he got coached by Mike Denbrock. We've seen what Will Stein's done with quarterbacks. This is a guy that you should not sleep on. They targeted him. They wanted him. He's an accurate guy who's who's with a good offensive coordinator. And the other part too is it's almost like how Marcel Reed. You get the second year of him. There should be a significant amount of growth. Minchie's got 2 years on the docket.
Yeah.
So you not just this year, but down the road, he could be somebody we're talking about a lot at this event next year.
Jay Bateman, talk to me about his transition there. I liked his time at A&M.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was always very friendly, but also brought a really good defense. How is he transitioning at Kentucky?
There's a lot of mystery around Jay Bateman because, it is. He's with Elko, right?
Yeah.
And when you're an offensive coordinator with an offensive coach, you don't get the credit, right?
Sure.
Same thing in this situation where we don't really – you get a general sense of what Bateman's going to want to do. Because we can turn on the tape, we can see A&M, but it's going to be different. And I think the part that I've liked most about it is that he's seen the bads, right? He's seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep.
And he's on a staff of a bunch of 36-year-old, 40-year-old young coaches who are hungry, active recruiters. Well, Jay Bateman's got some recruiting jobs too. He's done an exceptional job recruiting early on for Kentucky, but he's also he did well at Army, did not do well at North Carolina, and I think you kind of, and he's got experience in the league. So I'm excited because I think the part of Kentucky's defense that people don't really want to, I don't know if it's acknowledged, but even the Kentucky fan base, the returning talent, people just kind of like, no, they've got some pretty good players coming back.
Sure.
If they can have the edges of it, the corners and the pass rushers, pretty important. But if those guys hit, then I think this defense can really work out well for Jay Bateman in year one.
So I'm looking at the schedule, and I mean, it's hard, but because this is the SEC, but I find it somewhat manageable, or am I seeing it wrong? I mean, for a new coach, no.
Right.
But
relatively speaking,
you're avoiding some landmines.
Well, it's just you come out of the gate hot, right? You come out of the gate and you play Alabama week two.
Yeah.
And, I think Alabama is vulnerable early in the season.
I do too.
So you're probably catching them at the right time. But then go into Kyle Field in week 3. That's a big bite of the apple right off the bat when you got Alabama, A&M, 2 playoff
right away
from a year ago. Yeah, it's a big ask, especially when you know that first-year head coach is going to go through some growing pains. It's not like, there's 6 new coaches in the league. Will Stein's the only one who's never been a head coach. So there are going to be some moments in these big games where, it's going to come down to a play call here or there or a decision, whether to take a timeout, whether to try to get 6 points right before half or whether he should just pump the brakes. Something's going to happen in one of those. But I will say, though, to your point later on the schedule, how things can open up. Right, because we don't really know what South Carolina is going to be. Vanderbilt, they're going to be playing a true freshman at quarterback. I know Jared Curtis was awesome, but still, it's a true freshman at quarterback. And then Florida is roll the dice. What are they going to be? I don't know. I think they could be awesome. I really like John Summerall. I thought he made a good coordinator hire. But there's a lot of Tennessee this year. Dave, what do you think Tennessee's going to do this year?
I'm glad you asked me because I don't expect them to do anything. But when I say that, they're 8-4-ish level team, and everybody who lives in the state of Tennessee keeps telling me they might be a playoff team. And they're not even, sometimes they're not insiders. They're just guys that live there like, hey, man, this is what Heupel does. So what do you think about Tennessee?
I think they have the most boom or bust potential because they can't, getting Deshaun Bishop back, they do run the ball. That is the one thing that Heupel said yesterday, and he's correct about. They don't get enough credit for how they run the ball.
Yeah.
They're what if this quarterback stinks?
Yeah.
They lost a lot from that defense. Is Jim Knowles going to work? I mean, they invested so much money in a strength coach.
Yeah.
They're the highest paid strength coach in the country. What are we doing here? So I think they have the highest boom or bust potential. It just scares me if they boom. Because I don't like living in a world where Tennessee's boom.
I do want to ask you about Cutter Boley. I know he's at Arizona State now. What can A&M expect from him when they see him week 3?
A lot of boom or bust.
Okay, same conversation.
Yeah. Well, because Boley's a guy who he can really throw the ball down the field vertically.
Yeah.
He plays without any fear. He got thrown into the game. His first SEC action was at Texas.
That's right.
And he played well in that game. He didn't get him into the end zone, but after the game, McConaughey went up to him and said, "You're all right, kid." But he's going to be overly aggressive, and I think that's where when you have that experience secondary like you do in College Station, that's where there's some turnover potential there, and I think that's how you can get to him when he has a year under his belt, but he's new system, new offense, new place. I think his aggressiveness could bite him in the butt, but also maybe take the top off for a couple explosive plays.
So what do we think is a really good year for Kentucky in year 1 of the Will Stein era?
The crazy part is that I think Kentucky has the talent to be in the mix in all of these games. I mean, you go through the gamut. There's a lot of teams with similar question marks, and that confidence that you saw yesterday from Will Stein, it's not just lip service. This guy, he's been a part of college football playoff teams. He knows what it takes. He has a roster to do it, but there are going to be growing pains.
Yep.
So ultimately, they could be 8-4. They could be 4-8. They're probably going to land somewhere in between. The question is, which one of these big dogs can you knock off?
Yeah.
Can you go to Neyland Stadium and win at Tennessee? Can you keep beating Florida? Can you finally knock off Beamer? Beamer's had their number in recent years. I think their big win is in week 2 against Alabama. Kalen DeBoer, a little shaky whenever he takes the field for the first time. when he has to go away from home, leave the friendly confines. They can't run the ball well. They're breaking a new starting quarterback. There's not going to be a lot of tape out on what Will Stein wants to do, what Jay Bateman wants to do. I think if they can get that big win, it will buy up enough goodwill that, maybe the record isn't exactly what you want, but it'll get fans fired up to see what the potential can be for Will Stein in Kentucky.
All right, let's play that scenario out for a second.
Mm-hmm.
They do that.
Yep.
Not what happens in the A&M game, but what kind of confidence does that give them going into Kyle Field after, hey, we just beat a Goliath in this conference. Let's go on the road and do it again.
Especially when you've got a guy who's been on that sideline. And not just one. I mean, Bateman brought a couple of guys with him from A&M. That would be through the roof. Now, it's one thing to have the confidence, and then you walk into that Coliseum, and it's just a wall of sound and humans. So it'll be different. It'll be the first time away from home. But if you can beat Alabama, if you can slay that dragon, that's not Nick Saban's Alabama, but the logo, the
logo's the logo.
Exactly. So that's why this SEC season with the 9 games, it's so much fun.
It is fun.
This is why we do this.
Yeah,
right?
Unless your team loses that 9th game. Then you're like, darn it.
Exactly.
Nick, appreciate your time, brother.
It's always fun, David.
Nick Roush here on TexAgs Live.
Thanks,
all right,
guys.
we will hit a break, and when we come back on TexAgs Live, we will probably run something as I'm trying to tap dance and figure out the next step. Well, Billy will be rejoining us at 10:35. Right now, we're talking about Heritage Films. They make documentary films, so I'm looking right in front of me. Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart's right in front of me. Right? Could you imagine a freak? I mean, he could probably have Netflix do his, but Chance McClain could tell his story, his whole biography, right? The whole thing done in a Netflix-style documentary form about all his time covering college football and the SEC and traveling all around and all the stories from behind the scenes, the dinners, the drinks, you name it. That's the beauty of a Heritage Film. They're just storytellers, and they'll tell your story, your family business story, your family ranch story. They want to tell your story, and Chance McClain is the guy who runs the show. But not only does he run the show, he does it from a ridiculous level. He's artistic. He is a storyteller. He's funny. He's serious. He does it all. Check out the website, yourheritagefilm.com. That is yourheritagefilm.com. Check them out. And we're back. It is TexAgs Live. We're
Cade the Rusher.
Sorry?
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay. He's Nick Savage. I'm David Nuno. Cade, I was trying to give you enough time to queue up one of our interviews because as we wait for Billy Liucci to join us at around 10:35, to rejoin us, I should say, I wanted this to have time to listen to Cousin Shane. So Cousin Shane, so I talked a little bit about it with SEC Mike. Let me just kind of set the tone for you, all right? By the way, this SEC Media Days coverage is brought to you by Paragon Financial Advisors. Shout out to our QB1. Anyway, Cousin Shane on that SEC podcast, I don't know, what was it, like a week ago? He said that,
it was like last week.
They asked, like, what could be a worst-case scenario? Somehow it came up. He said, A&M is barely bowl eligible. That was good at SEC Shane.
That's pretty good,
yeah. I just changed him to SEC Shane. Uncle Shane, as Olin calls him. Uncle Shane! And he says, maybe barely bowl eligible, but win 7 games. And, I pressed him a little bit on it. And he's like, look, that's the worst-case scenario. I think they're around this area. Anyway, that's the setup for Cousin Shane, who for a moment forgot my name. It's okay. I forgot his, too, because I called him SEC Shane. Here's the interview with our cousin, El Primo.
Welcome back into our SEC Media Day coverage brought to you by Paragon Financial Advisors. I'm David Nuno here on TexAgs Live and my buddy Cousin Shane. You remember my name's David Nuno, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You're not going to bring it up on air. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. I know that feeling because there's people you know, but in the moment you're like, God, there was somebody I know really well the other day. I'm like, why isn't my recall there?
I went through 10 conversations in my head trying to get it, But it just, the older I get, the more of those kind of floating moments I have, I like to call them.
Wait, you're like 34.
No. I just turned 44.
Congratulations, brother. Congratulations. So the other thing I wanted to bring up was my brain fart.
Yeah.
You go, because I'm doing a short with you, and you're like, all right, I want you to say your name and your outfit and your expectation, whatever the question was, right? And I was like, you want to know what I'm wearing, bro? Vera Wang? You weren't asking that.
No, I was not. But I did reword that conversation for people later.
Okay.
I was like, you know what?
Outlet, not outfit.
Yes, that is exactly right.
But
outlet.
I did look, okay? Yeah. I am wearing Indochino with a little Cuba Libre right there, so there you go.
Fancy. Yeah, I'm strictly DXL, because
DXL.
when you get my size, you're kind of limited.
But you said you've lost a bunch of weight. You look great, dude.
I'm getting there. Getting there. I would imagine if it happens that I can get down to your level, I would imagine my closet would double. And so just because I would buy outfits, I couldn't, something without, spandex in it would be great.
All right, so
yes.
Let me see if I remember the talking point correctly.
Yeah.
You're not very high on A&M. Not like Mike high on A&M. You could be, right? There's some questions you need.
Here's the thing about Texas A&M. I have always been in the Aggie camp. In fact, it's a love-hate relationship, and sometimes even when I'm out, they eventually suck me back in,
sure.
where I'm on the wagon, and then they drop something. And so it is definitely a seesaw relationship, and most Ags are probably happy that I'm kind of out on them, and I should specify why I'm out. I think there is going to be some growing pains with a 9-game SEC schedule, and it's not just Texas A&M,
right.
But I feel like looking at your schedule in July, that this is a tough gauntlet that we're going to have to try to navigate. You know
sure.
what I'm saying? So to sit here and say, we're going to go 10-2 and back to the playoffs, I feel like there's going to be several teams out there that are sitting at that 9-3 that are saying, hey, this is why we should get in. So I feel like that's, for me, is kind of that camp at A&M. They're going to be a bubble team that needs to have some stuff go their right way, but unfortunately with the schedule, the way you guys have, that November is rough.
So I don't think Aggie fans would disagree with you.
Yeah.
We all agree with all that.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? Does that mean 9-3? Does that mean 8-4? But I think what you said initially, and that's a worst case scenario, was barely bowl eligible, maybe winning 7 games. Yeah. And I can see that. And the way I see that is if they don't answer some of these questions, offensive line, defensive line.
Yes.
But if they do answer the offensive line, and what that means, top 8 in the SEC, let's say upper half of the SEC, then I think what is the floor for A&M? And in that world, I think the floor, if the offensive line is pretty good to really good, is I would say the floor in that world is 8-4.
Absolutely, and letting Marcel cook.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was talking to Billy earlier. I said, listen, Notre Dame, South Carolina, backs against the wall. Marcel Reed came to play. They let him loose.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like when he did, and at times I can get it, he gets in trouble, but he's just such an athlete that I feel like he should be the captain. He's the one that determines the ceiling of this football team. So with this new coordinator, let him play a little bit. That's what I'd like to see. I feel like TexAgs was very aggressive, especially with the wide receiver room, you know, and if they can get that acclimated, man, this could be a dangerous, potent offense. I'm not worried about the defense. I know a lot of people go to that, but I feel like this team to make another playoff run is as simple as Marcel Reed proving that he's a top 5 quarterback in this league.
All right, so let's play this game. Two different scenarios play out what it says about A&M and their program. They go 8-4 this year. What does that say? They go 10-2. What does this say? Because I'm going to start answering your question for you, which I shouldn't. I think Coach Elko gets a little grace on year 3 if they go 8-4. Not if they go 7-5, okay?
Right.
Because of the reload, the rebuild. But if they do 10-2 in year 3 after following it up at 11-1, and then I'm like, dude, that's back-to-back years of double digits. So take that and run with it.
You're at that point, right? You're at a fork in the road. Is Texas A&M a legit playoff contender every single year, or were they a one-hit wonder that's still working on, you know, A, B, and C? And I feel like that's where we're at. If you can get back to the playoffs, then I think you just cemented that this program is considered one of the top programs in the country every year. It should always be in the top 10 when that AP poll rolls out. That's just where we're at. However, you're also in a kind of a same boat that Josh Heupel was a few years ago, right? You get to a playoff, everybody loves you, and then you drop off, and now 10 people in Tennessee say, do we got the right guy? Right. You know, so it's the situation. Last year was fantastic, and I don't want to take anything away from it, but you have moved the bar. You have set a new standard, and if you don't hit it, they're going to want to blame somebody. And you pair that with a 9-game SEC schedule, brutal. It's tough. Not saying it can't happen, because one team's going to win, one team's going to lose, and if he's able to do that, stack more wins than losses, I think we may look back and say this may be one of the best, if not the best coach in the conference.
I don't have an insider perspective on Tennessee, but I think that's unfair for Heupel, considering what happened with Nico and then this past offseason with Joey Aguilar. I feel like when you got a moving target at quarterback, and one of the times you don't find out till the spring who your quarterback's going to be, it's hard to expect 10 wins in the SEC.
No, I totally agree, but there's 6 other teams that are here this week that can make the argument that they deserve in the playoff, and I just feel like realistically 4 will be there. So that means 2 are going to get left off, and there's probably some teams that just have false hope, you know. But I don't think Texas A&M, and I want to clarify. So it was a hot take.
Yeah.
You know, we had to pick
and we
the hottest
do that,
hot take, and I said which is more likely to make a playoff or miss a bowl game. So I'm kind of picking a fork in the road. So if they're at 6, 7, you know, even 8, they're more likely to miss a bowl than make a playoff. So that's kind of where.
Okay, that makes sense.
I've been getting a lot of hate mail.
TexAgs people coming after you.
No, actually, you guys are great compared to some other fan bases out there.
All right, so Texas and Georgia, they're considered the upper tier of that first, second tier in the SEC. What are your question marks for both of those programs this year?
So that's Texas and Georgia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, Texas for me, it's always like a grocery store. When first job I ever had, I was a stocker. I'd go and I'd do the shelves and everything like that. And he'd say, go get ready for aisle 3 or something. And all you do is you front it, right? The front looks great. Oh, man, you take a picture. But you move a couple of those cans, and that's empty behind there. And my concern with Texas is there's a couple of areas where depth will be a problem.
Okay.
I mean, say what you want. I'd love for everybody to get through a season healthy. But we look at some of the teams that are winning national titles. They're doing it because they're older. They're doing it because they're deeper. And my concern with Texas is now if they stay healthy, damn good football team, you know. Now on the other side, Georgia, returning a lot of talent, returning a lot of older veterans. You know, this is a defense that nobody's talking about, but dude, they're bringing 16 starters back, you know, on this football team. So, and Gunner's there. So if they can get their wide receiver room figured out, dude, Georgia, I cannot see why people are picking Texas over Georgia. just because. You know, last 2 SEC, the proof is there. You know, if you're playing roulette and it keeps hitting red, I'm not going to keep putting my money on black. I'm going to put it on red, you know?
Shane, I read this last week, and it caught me off guard. Of the 130-plus teams in Division I football, Texas, Ohio State, A&M, Georgia, and others, when it came to the average age of their roster, were amongst the bottom.
Yeah.
And it caught me off guard. And then you look at the top 15, 20 teams age-wise, there weren't really any contenders, which is, I think, is opposite of what we've seen in the NIL era, yet I still believe in those teams on the back half.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like you're always trying to get a leg up on the next season, right? What is working, and it's totally evolving, but you're seeing more teams lately invest in their current roster, which I think that is the future.
That is.
You know, this is your ride or die. Make recruiting important. Once you get them there, keep them there, because then you can develop them. And that's what the NFL ultimately wants. They've been on record many a times talking about these kids coming out of college are just not prepared for that next level. You're going to start seeing programs take the opposite path.
Sure.
And those that embrace that, they're going to make a great run at it. So, yeah, keep the kids at home. That's important.
All right, and your answer may be A&M, but who from that upper tier do you think is going to have a big fall?
Well, I mean, I feel like A&M is definitely in the mix just because of the playoff. Because,
schedule.
Again, you're living, you said it yourself. So I feel like that would be my knee-jerk reaction. However, there's a couple of programs out there. I feel like Ole Miss would be the biggest one if I had to pick.
Especially with a new, I know he was there last year with B. Golding, but it's still a new staff.
It is. And it is. And a lot of people go, well, Lacey's there. Well, Trinidad's there. Yeah, but there's a lot of other stuff that's not around, especially on the defensive side. So, and a lot of that blame's going to be passed on Pete. Let's not sit here and act like Ole Miss didn't get a favorable schedule last year.
Yeah.
They did, right? And then when they hit tough ones, I think everybody was excited about Georgia, but, that's it, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like Ole Miss would be the team.
Cousin Shane, I appreciate you. I got a friend who calls you Uncle Shane, but you're Cousin Shane to me, brother.
Thank you. I'm 44, though. I'm getting there.
Hey, you look 34. Come on.
I appreciate it. Well, it's big guys, so we don't get a lot of wrinkles.
He's got a lot of makeup. It's amazing. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you.
Back to our SEC Media Day coverage brought to you by Paragon Financial Advisors. Billy Liucci's with us. I'm David Nuno, and Andy Staples of On3 with us. What's up, man?
I'm dressed like your financial advisor today, but
yeah, you are.
Not my normal podcast wear. So I always feel bad when I come to this thing because the players are so nicely dressed and the coaches are so nicely dressed. So I figure I wear a suit, and then I get on the show, and I'm like, wait a second. I talk about college football for a living. I shouldn't be wearing a suit.
But you always look good, so it's better than the alternative, which would be like me.
I used to be pretty sloppy though, like it flip flops everywhere, and I can't do that anymore.
Maybe you split the difference. Yeah, you might feel.
No,
better.
you look good. You have an aesthetic. That's what matters.
A style there.
I know it's you.
I just sent a picture to my stylist / good friend Ashley. Shout out Ashley.
I've met Ashley, by the way. It boggles my mind that, well, it doesn't boggle my mind that you have a stylist, but it is. She does good work.
She does. Like, this isn't good, whether I'm wearing it right or not. It's a nice shirt. It's corduroy.
It's a quality shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I was a fat kid. Corduroy it scares me a little bit because when you're fat and you have big thighs, like corduroy pants can start a fire. So it's you got to be a little careful.
Corduroy pants are rough. When your mom would buy them when you're in like elementary school, you're like, no.
Well, I'm wearing a black suit, so it looks like I work here without a tie. I work here at the hotel, or I'm your Mexican restaurant waiter. I mean, it's either one. It works for me.
I didn't say it.
No, I did. I'm allowed to.
Wait, the salsa's free?
Andy, who's a team you're watching for in September that will tell you who they really are?
I think the Florida-Auburn game is going to be really interesting. So 2 first-year coaches, they play at Auburn. Florida's got a couple warm-up games beforehand. Auburn has to play Baylor right out of the gate. Yeah. But I don't know that Florida's going to know exactly who their quarterback is until they get to the Auburn game. Like, I would use FAU and Campbell to figure out whether it's going to be Aaron Philo or Tramel Jones Jr. and then put your best foot forward when you go to Jordan Hare. But those are, because both those guys I feel like have made the right decisions since getting there, but they've done it in a different way because Alex Golesh is bringing a lot of USF to Auburn. John Summerall didn't bring a ton of Tulane to Florida because Billy Napier left behind a really good roster, and he worked to retain most of what they had, other than DJ Lagway, of course. And I think that's fascinating to me because it's 2 different ways to build. They both may be effective, but one may be more effective early. Like, I would say probably favor Golesh in that situation because his Byron Brown, all those guys know exactly what he does and what they need to do. Like, will they start faster because they know that stuff?
Mm-hmm. Question along those lines. I'm going to do it 2-parter. Speaking of Brown and speaking of Golesh and Summerall, outside of Lane Kiffin, okay, who's walking into, a $40 million and all the success of LSU football, outside of him, which of the new coaches do you think at season's end, let's just say, finishes in who's the most likely to finish in the top 25 of the new coaches? That's like, and the second part of that is who is a quarterback that most people don't have in that top, say, 5 or 6 in the league that you think could end up there when we're talking about the best in the league at season's end?
Well, it's interesting because you didn't mention Will Stein.
Yeah, but I'm including him.
And I don't know that Kentucky finishes in the top 25, but I think Will Stein makes Kentucky a lot better. And I've been impressed with what he's done initially because I thought when they fired Mark Stoops, because of the Texas A&M fans and certain Texas A&M regions will appreciate this. When they fired Mark Stoops, they had to pay him a lot of money. Yeah. And I thought that they had the excuse that, we sunk all this into firing Stoops, so we don't really have much for the roster. No, when they hired Stein, they were like, listen, what do you need? You need an offensive line? Go buy a good offensive line. So they went and got Lance Hurd from Tennessee. They got Baylor's center. Like they went quick and found an experienced offensive. Tegra Shabola from Ohio State. So I think they'll be good, or at least better quick.
Yeah.
I would say just from a sheer roster talent standpoint that Florida is probably the one that would most likely wind up in the top 25 because I remember last year talking to people who played Florida. I remember Mario Cristobal was like, those guys were awesome. Like the talent on the roster was awesome. They just not coached very well. And they have a lot of that same talent there. And then Summerall did go out and get some guys like Eric Singleton Jr., the receiver who was at Auburn last year, had been at Georgia Tech. So I think they would probably be the most likely of that bunch to wind up in the top 25. But the one who I think might be able to change his program's fortunes the most long term might be Stein.
It's funny you say that because I've said, LSU will have, to me, a better record. Same thing with Florida with Ball and those receivers and the defensive talent. But I said, I think by the end of the season, we'll be talking about Will Stein having done the best job of the first year.
Yeah, and so Kenny Menchie might be that guy. And it's such a weird dynamic because when you have a quarterback competition and somebody wins and somebody loses, the coaches always say, oh, it's close. Sometimes it was and sometimes it wasn't. I believe the Notre Dame coaches when they say that C.J. Carr, Kenny Menchie competition was very close.
Yeah,
I think they're telling the truth.
Following that really closely.
Of course, because A&M had to play them early. Yeah. But I believe them when they say that. I think that was true, and that if he got beat out by C.J. Carr, well, there's no shame in that. C.J. Carr might be one of the best quarterbacks in the country by the end of the season. So I think he could potentially come in, and if you look, it's interesting because that was who Nebraska targeted first, and then Kentucky had to pay him to get him to come. So that one's going to be a fun one. Byron Brown, though, I do think
he's that guy.
If you look at what he did at USF's not a place that had been easy to win at, and Byron Brown is like throwing for 3,000 yards and running for 1,100 yards and running for a bunch of touchdowns. And he makes you be very honest on defense. He very much limits what you can do against him defensively because he's scary in the open field when he runs.
I want to ask you a similar question, but with the established coaches. Who this year maybe changes his profile, takes a step up potentially, or maybe even a step back?
Well, Beamer has to. I mean, Beamer's got to have a turnaround year, or that might be it for him. And you know, it's interesting because you go back to 24, they start 2-3, and they did that SEC documentary, and he was very open for that. And during that stretch, he's talking about, hey, I might get fired this year. And then they win their last 7. He gets an extension. He gets a raise. And then they go 4-8. Like, that's the problem. South Carolina is a kind of a roller coaster situation. But he's got to turn it around because if they're 5-7, if they're 6-6, that's probably not going to be good enough. So he definitely has to do something different. Everybody else, I think, is in a pretty good place. They're either new or they've done what they need to do. Kalen DeBoer is probably the most interesting one because there's nothing that's going to happen to him. They're not going to be bad. Yeah. They might be below Alabama standards, but they're not going to be bad. And you just paid him to keep him from going to Michigan. So you're not doing anything with him unless it's an absolute disaster, and I don't think that's what's going to happen.
No. Question about A&M. I'm trying to think of just tell me, Andy, and I know you followed and I've always followed A&M very closely since you and I became friends. This is back in 2010. Yeah, the first flirtation with the SEC.
The Big 12 missile crisis, part 1.
Yeah, exactly. So, if Texas A&M finds its way back into the playoff this year, when we're looking back on it, what happened? How'd they get there?
I think they were very similar to last year. Great defense, good up front, could run the ball. They need to evolve a little bit in the passing game, but they should be able to. They did that last year.
Yeah, they took a big
point.
Step.
Yeah, so I think that's probably it. And Marcel is one of those guys that from you talk to people, he can be a little bit impulsive, and that can be good or bad depending on. So if they could cut down on like first half of the South Carolina game type impulsiveness and have a little more of second half of the South Carolina game type impulsiveness,
for sure,
and then that's what's going to happen. And I'm fascinated to see because I saw Colin Klein at Big 12 media days, and obviously he was a big part of what developing Marcel Reed. And Holman Wiggins got to come in and call that offense and figure out how that's going to work. So I think that they're going to be a mystery offensively a little bit early. I don't think they're going to try to do a whole lot different, though. I think it's just a matter of how much has Marcel grown, because there were games last year where he looked like he could take them to a national championship. Yeah. And then there were games where he looked like he could cost you the game.
I think a lot of people forget that because of the last 2 games. Yeah. And there's a lot of forgetting who Colin Simmons is and Dylan Stewart and Bain and Mesidor. and really the Miami and Texas defenses. But what I'll tell you, you hit on to me, the first thing you said, they couldn't run the ball against Texas or Miami. And South Carolina for that matter. And that's in the second half. They just said, Marcel and you receivers go win it.
Yeah.
They couldn't run the ball, and to me, that is the key. And
the thing is, nobody could run the ball on those guys except for whatever reason Florida ran the ball in Texas. I have no idea how that happened.
That was crazy.
But yeah, nobody else all year could run the ball on either of those teams.
Yeah, so if A&M can run the football next year, and you mentioned the O-line and the run game, I think that's the whole key, because I do think Marcel will take, whether it's a giant step or just a noticeable, I think he takes another step forward, much like we were talking about Mateer this morning. And I think that's enough to replicate exactly what you said, like to where the team wins games the same way.
The question is, I don't know that it makes them significantly better than they were last year. No. But the thing is, if you think about it, they're in a nip and tuck, just slugfest with Miami. If they win that game, they might have won the next game too. Like them against Ohio State would have been a pretty interesting matchup, and it probably would have been another really low-scoring game. Yeah. But Ohio State didn't run the ball really well at all last year, and Texas A&M probably would have been able to defend them.
I thought it was a decent matchup because of that. They didn't run the ball like they did in the national championship the year before. And I thought that lended itself to some down and distance situations where Cassius Howell and those guys could get after.
It would have probably been a very similar game to the Indiana-Ohio State Big Ten Championship or to the Miami A&M game.
Yeah, I thought so. That's interesting. And you would have been playing in Dallas in the Cotton Bowl in a game that I think A&M fans would have been waiting for.
They would have been pretty excited about that, yeah.
Andy, so anyway. Before we let you go, I came into this week hearing that there was no chance that the Protect College Sports Act was going to go through, this and that.
There's still no chance.
Okay, because I feel like some of the talking points have changed over the last couple of days.
You mean the politicians who would like the thing to pass have said that things that suggest it'll pass?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you pull an okey doke on the Big Ten and the SEC with the original bill, and then you spend the next few weeks trying to apologize with edits to it, it's a bad place to start. You've basically slit your wrist from the start.
But if they make those changes, still,
and everybody else won't want it.
Right.
That's the problem. There's two constituencies so the bill was written in a way to the parties that would benefit the most would be like Big 12 and ACC schools, because it would keep the Big 10 and the SEC from poaching from those leagues, and then they had the TV rights pooling situation where it would allow them to be tied in contractually with the Big 10 and the SEC, even though Big 10 and SEC would still make more money. Well, the Big Ten and the SEC don't want to give up the power either. They like the money, but they also like the power. So there's no incentive for them to do that. And then when you're basically told by two senators, including one from your own state, like Ted Cruz, that's an SEC state.
Yeah.
Yep. And they say, well, we're going to make sure that the SEC and the Big Ten don't form a super league. Okay, they're declaring war on you basically. So you're not gonna be amenable to most of what they have to say. And even if they try to change it, there's not much they can do, because the needle they have to thread is, well, Cody Campbell wants Texas Tech in this club.
Right.
This is written in a way to keep Texas Tech in the club.
Yeah.
If you piss off Cody Campbell, then you've got another problem if you're them. So, that's the problem is I don't know that they can ever satisfy both constituencies there.
Andy, we appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
See you guys.
Andy Staples on 3.
As always.
All right, let's talk about the Association of Former Students. If you haven't checked out the latest issue of the Texas Aggie magazine and the Association of Former Students, the May-June issue back in the day was about the Aggie spirits and includes all things Aggie wine, beer, meads, and spirits and more. The team has searched far and wide for Aggie-owned businesses, breweries, and wineries across the state. Normally, the Texas Aggie magazine is available only to Century Club members, but this issue is available to everyone. To read the issue and explore giving and receiving future issues, please visit tx.ag/Texas Aggie. That is right. That is tx.ag/Texas Aggie. Again, don't miss the special Aggie Spirits issue of the Texas Aggie and explore all things Aggie wine and beer. tx.ag/Texas Aggie. Final segment of the program here on TexAgs Live. And as a reminder, that's brought to you by Double Days. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150. Why'd I use the accent? We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite world-famous pepperoni rolls. And, of course, that pizza is amazing. Right now, go by and you'll check it out. You will love it. It is Double Dave's. All right, so, Nick, I am going to read a text. Okay. It's not a bad text, okay? But I just want us for a moment to chew on, if you will, okay? And here it is. It is from our buddy Daniel on the YouTube page. LOL at Nuno telling Nick Roush that Jay Bateman was a good coach for A&M. I thought Jay was a good coach for A&M, okay? I don't think he was great, okay? But I don't think he was bad either.
Yeah.
Okay, like for instance, DJ Durkin. I thought he had one good year, 2 bad years.
Yeah, fair.
I thought Jay had 2 good years.
Solid.
And when we point like it's still, yes, Mike Elko took over the defense basically, but it's still Mike Elko's defense.
Yeah.
I thought they were good. I understand that it wasn't the results that we wanted, and it ended up working out in A&M's favor because I think they like the direction they're going moving forward. But I thought he was a good coach. Definitely not on the great team. We've had some stinkers.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Adazio at one point was a really good offensive line coach back in the day. Was not very good for A&M. Yeah. I would say he would be on the average to severely below average spectrum.
Yeah, same thing with Bobby Petrino. But again,
Bobby Petrino was fine.
But how much did he actually get to, call plays and whatnot?
I'm glad you say that because there were certain games I'm like, oh, Bobby Petrino's calling the plays this week.
You can tell.
Yeah. And then there were other games I'm like, oh, Jimbo's calling the plays again. That's what it felt like. You'd watch it like, wait, we weren't doing this at all last week. What is this?
Definitely.
So that's... And I can't, excuse me for using the term that people use with kids, I can't poo-poo on a team that went 11-2, and yes, they went 8-4 in year one, but they were in the conversation for the SEC championship game entering that last game. Don't lose to Auburn, you're there. Don't lose to Texas, you're there, right? And especially don't lose to Auburn. So while I know that, I will tell you this, defense has had some issues stopping big plays for 2 years.
Yeah, definitely.
Year one of the Mike Elko era and with Jay Bateman, big plays were happening more in the secondary, right? They were giving up the big pass plays. Year two was those runs, those back-breaking runs that, you were able to corral. But if you remember, I think it was the second half in the Texas game, they had that big run to, on a third down. They got it 20 yards that Trey Wisner did that kind of got them going. So that happened all year long from the first game through the last game.
Yeah. And with that, one thing I know is Elko has proven he's pretty good at identifying that, it's like he's not going to be blind to that issue. He'll address it, and I'm sure Lyle Hemphill, taking over as DC, will definitely have some thoughts on how he can address that issue.
All right, so tomorrow on the show, I don't know. But I do know on the podium, Texas A&M hits the podium.
We'll talk to Cole Kubelik later today, yeah.
Okay, we'll run that tomorrow. What else?
Aaron Murray.
Aaron Murray.
Pate said we'll stop by tomorrow.
So, it's going to be a great show then.
Yeah, we'll have Jordan Rogers tomorrow afternoon, so that might run on Thursday. All kinds of good stuff.
All right.
And much more.
Thank you to Paragon Financial Advisors. We'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.